Hello, one, hello, all. Welcome back to the first proper show business in quite a while. We're doing the weekend of September 6th. Oh, no, wait, no, 5th through 6th, whatever. Today is September 7th.
Yeah.
As always, I am CP.
Got Jaime and Fuego here.
And I'm Lindsay. My 2 cents of nonsense. Check me out.
I'm Chauncey K, Twisted Woman CKR.
Yay, we're all back. Great. So
family's back together again, guys.
Yeah.
Right. So now that we're all caught up. Well, no. So we had a bit of a test run last week. So Chauncey, you weren't with us in quite a while. Why don't you let us and people watching know what you've been up to since we last were on?
Well, yeah, I've been watching a lot of films, oldies but goodies, a lot of good feel-good stuff these days. I revisited a Very Brady sequel and a Brady Bunch.
Oh, yeah.
Two of my fave films ever. So I've been watching a lot of that. As some people may know, I'm also a full-time journalist and film and TV critic. So I recently walked down the spiral of a QAnon conspiracy theory epic called The Fall of the Cabal. If you've seen it, it's on YouTube. And it's 10 parts, about 2.5 hours of my life. And I watched it. It was actually interestingly done. It was kind of quality in terms of the editing and stuff. But I'm going to say it did not convert me.
So was Hillary's America. And that was awful.
So,
wait, did you actually watch that?
Yes. Yes, it's terrible.
I actually watch conspiracy theory. So if anyone has any recommendation for something good to laugh at or something like that, or not, I'm always down. But I actually did an in-depth article about it and QAnon and how it's been gaining some traction and what that means. So that's been my first major article in the last couple of weeks. Kind of took a break from writing for a little bit and just getting through the day by day. Got some stuff in the oven in terms of things I've been writing and projects I'm working on, but that's been the main stuff in the immediate. So
that's quite a bowl, and you moved too because your background.
Yeah, I did. I'm getting it together. I've mainly just been like decompressing, but yeah, I actually moved. Still in Hollywood, still in Los Angeles, but in a little bigger place and stuff. So.
You also got a Mewtwo behind you now, so you win, obviously.
Yes, I mean, yeah. It's actually my boyfriend's. He has a lot of Pokemon stuffed animals, so and I do like Pokemon, so I mean it works.
Hey, you chose the best one, so well
done. Lindsay, what would you do in the last week?
Well, I like I said last week, I put out a video on New Mutants. It was fun. Yeah. I talked about, I know, the franchise and all that. It was fun. I'm starting to do more. I've used a lot of this time to kind of just play around and do little weird editing things. Like I had a lot of fun playing around with Foley work and stuff like that. Nothing other than that, too much to report. I also ran a whole lot of Dungeons and Dragons for a lot of friends. So I got quite good at that. Nerdy. Oh, you have no idea. Some of these games got so. Anyway, we don't need to get into that.
Fuego, what about yourself?
Yeah, last 7 days have been interesting, man. So I braved theaters for a few different occasions, actually. So I know I told you guys last Monday that Cecil and I went to review New Mutants, which we put up on Tuesday of last week, I believe it was. And then I saw TENET with my lady last Monday evening. Masks, distanced, all that good stuff. I felt more comfortable than I thought I was going to with a virtually empty theater. There was maybe 10 other people, and everybody was spread way the hell out. Yeah. And it was an interesting experience. And I mean, so much so that I also went with Cecil, and we saw the Train to Busan sequel this past Friday, which is called Peninsula, and we put up the review of that earlier today. So I wasn't quite as jazzed about it as the original because the first Train to Busan was fantastic and did something so different with the zombie genre.
Where do you go with it?
You go full on action pretty much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You almost like Cameron it. It's like the Aliens T2 sort of approach where you make it far more just shoot 'em up centric, more car chases and craziness. And it didn't really have that intimacy and heart as much.
Character.
There were moments of it, but it almost felt like they were disingenuously trying to duplicate it instead, which was a little off-putting, despite the return of the same director and writer and everything. And aside from that, I finished editing the music video for my band. We filmed something during quarantine up in northern Arizona around the Sedona area, and it's a cover of Guns N' Roses' Civil War that we changed some of the lyrics to about the current state of just society and just tension with an upcoming election and everything. And
current state? What are you talking about? Have you seen the economy? We're doing fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's all that matters. Because money. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Hey man, the stock market's great right now.
Great. That's all that matters, man. The stock market's great. We're doing fine.
Yeah, but it's a cover that with an election in a couple months, I feel like is hopefully going to come across.
We're pretty close.
As poignant as possible, So yeah, it was that, and then just watching new stuff on HBO, man. I mean, Raised by Wolves and more Lovecraft Country. So.
Yes, I love Lovecraft Country.
It's
That's
badass.
It's so awesome.
I need to get on that. I've heard amazing things.
So good.
Yeah, Max is literally it's inching closer to Netflix for the best selection of both new content and older films for me. HBO Max is the shit.
But Netflix has The Office, so Netflix still wins.
You just buy the Blu-rays.
I actually own the first 3 seasons on Blu-ray, but I haven't watched them in so long because I just booted up on Netflix.
I don't know if I want to do that. I'm sorry, Chauncey. I'm going to exploit the full palette we have here.
Right.
Well, because Fuego kind of let it off.
Sorry, guys.
With the state of things in this country, whether it be rushing back to whatever, there's arguments that are made that perhaps theaters shouldn't even be open right now, and some states are ultra limited, and you guys out in California don't have anything open, right? Or is it just drive-ins?
Yeah.
Drive-in, excuse me. Drive-through. All right, I'll see 10 minutes.
That's a great concept to watch shorts. You just drive to a thing and there's like a couple screens.
And yet the crazy thing is, I've seen some esteemed critics. They're driving over to Vegas for press screenings and for just to actually have things they can review. But the community is very divided, as I know we talked about last Monday. There's some people who are just renouncing theaters and they're like, nope, I'm not going to go to a theater. And there's other people who are cautiously attempting. Like I made a very cautious decision about, and I wasn't even 100% if it was the right decision, but I, taking every precaution possible and forging forward. I mean, thankfully there's not like a full slate of stuff to check out. So it's not like normally when I had my A-list and I'm going like 3 times a week to a theater, but
So we all have certain viewpoints on how great or not great the situation is with the state of the country. Chauncey, what are you feeling right now?
I think it's I like to call this. I saw a documentary too on the plague that happened back in England, London, and one of the things I think about is when people in the future wonder how this got as bad as it did and everything. I think they're going to look at mismanagement. I think a lot of what has happened isn't necessarily because in the previous administration, they had a threat of a potential pandemic and they pretty much did what they had to do. And we've gotten to this point, I think a lot of it because of mismanagement, because of divisions, because of the fact that some people are this way and some people are that way, instead of, maybe a higher office being like, no, this is the way it is for everybody. Let's get this under control so that we who are not holding the higher office don't have to make these kind of decisions. Right. We don't have to put ourselves in these kind of positions to have to decide, well, the only way I can see this if I go do this or this and that. So, I mean, I definitely think I just keep saying I'm hopeful, not for this October thing that they're talking about of a vaccine, but like the real one. Hopefully the one that actually is a reputable and a one that with some actual credit comes out closer to what Fauci was saying, like December, January, because I think the way it is right now is that we're kind of in a standstill. Some people are still kind of, the pandemic doesn't slow some people down and others, we are kind of like adapting in different ways. I know for myself, I've just been watching a lot more streaming things and catching up on old stuff that I hadn't watched before. And I think it's going to take everyone working together, the industry and critics too, because it's like you had this whole thing with TENET. I kind of have a principal where I refused to watch that movie because of the fact that he was. Well, I wasn't interested anyway, but it was just like because I, as a critic, I would have to. I was like, the fact that he's so gung ho about having this in theaters, F all to because of his creative endeavors to our, safety.
Health. Yeah.
I just, for the principle of it, I was like, I'm not watching this. I'm not gonna watch this movie, and that's kind of where I'm at because I'm like, we have to work together on this. There needs to be more screeners sent out. I love what Bill and Ted did, where they put it out, and it wasn't a huge thing. Where it was like, and it was a wonderful film, very cute. I loved it, and it was just like, thank you for putting this out, so all of us can be at home and enjoy this great movie, and not, this whole thing. So I'm not one of the people who is necessarily for them releasing stuff in films in the theaters because I don't think it's safe right now. I still don't think it's safe. Mainly because there's just a lot of misinformation to a certain degree too, now that the CDC is under the thumb of a certain administration. So it's even getting even more weird in terms of what you can believe. So I don't feel safe about it. And I worry also about the workers, in these situations.
Yeah, the employees they have to be there. They're making a dollar.
I think it's leadership that we had a failure in this.
Mm-hmm. Well, you referenced the administration. The administration is trying to maintain their office, talking about bringing America back to a time that just is unnatural, is phony. It's Leave It to Beaver. And I think the problem is not enough people are hearing voices like yourself, Chauncey. Like I asked you how you're doing, and I meant as a Black woman in America, because none of us, 75% of this show doesn't know what your situation is, because it's very different, the country, for the two races right now. So I think I'm part of the first generation that was brought up on like the Cosby Show, Family Matters. So like, as far as I'll try to keep it within entertainment. The administration wants to bring back Leave It to Beaver, but that's a very that's ignoring a massive amount of things that are going on. But
it's a bygone time, man.
And it's fake. It's almost propaganda. If you can get that far.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
also, Leave It to Beaver kind of sucked.
I was more of an Andy Griffith show. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, give me some of that little Ronnie Howe. So,
Ronnie Howe.
No, it's definitely a lot of division right now. I don't even know. It's like someone had just said about social media and stuff in the chat. Like, just the idea of certain things that. I actually read something the other day where it was like, it's not so much that the world is so much more violent or divided than it used to be. It's just that we're in an age where there's so much information and certain things get focused on and certain things get highlighted. And you also have a leadership and administration that is enabling certain sectors that may not have usually been ones to take it to the streets and stuff as quickly as and emboldened as they have in the last 4 years, that are now having that. So it's interesting because like my brother who's traveling, I recently became an aunt too. So I have 3 cats and that's where I'm at. Like I'm also an aunt now. And so he is traveling down, and he actually was going to pack his Black Lives Matter t-shirt, but he decided not to because he had recently went to the hospital for a checkup and everything like that. And when he was passing by, he said he felt like a lot of the older white people were looking at him very strangely. Because usually when he said he wore Black Lives Matter, it would be like, oh, that's a cool shirt. Oh, yeah, that's a nice shirt. And now it's just kind of weird, like tension, like, oh, are they? And I actually joked with him. I'm like, someone might make a speech that you're like because he's traveling down to North Carolina. I was like, someone might make a speech that, you're infiltrating North Carolina, like they recently did about certain people getting on a plane with certain shirts and stuff. So it's a weird time, because I think we're making a lot in entertainment and things like that. Certain inroads had been made and are being made. But I think what we're seeing on the news media and stuff is showing that there's still a lot of division, even in some of the revelations that have come out regarding entertainment figures like Ellen and things like that, just where they stand and how they treat people who are different, even considering they're part of a marginalized group.
Right.
And stuff.
Right.
But I think it's showing, but I don't think it's new. I just think it's more in our face right now.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot more in our face because of the fact that we dealt with a pandemic and stuff that, like, whereas tensions were already there, as horrible as it is, just all of the seclusion and the aggravation and the pent up frustration, it was like pouring fuel on the fire, especially in an election year, for God's sake. So that's what just made everything so much crazier.
What's also weird is we don't have news anymore. Emily keeps saying this. She says, "Where is the regular news? You have different versions of the same story."
Yeah,
you can get the news that you want, and it's really kind of strange. And I can't do anything but shrug my shoulders and say I don't know. I apologize for bringing you to this country, but this is the way it is. I don't know.
How dare you kidnap her in a box and bring her over here?
Yeah, she's like, this isn't news. They're giving their opinions. They should just be talking about the news. I'm like, I could turn the
very slanted. But
yeah.
That's the thing about journalism too. I was, I've been reacquainting myself with it just because of everything that's been going on and working in it. Is the question of new journalists inherently, there's been a weird thing about like journalists, as journalists, you have to be objective. It's not so much that the journalists themselves or the reporter themselves have to be objective in the sense, because we all have bias. We're humans. Even when I write with a certain slant because, hey, I'm not a robot. Right. But the journalistic method is what should be objective. How you get your facts and figures. The fact that if you report this thing, you also choose to report this thing. So it's not just from one source only. Right. So that even if someone reads your stuff or hears what you're reporting, that they know, okay, they kind of have a bias, but they also presented me with enough that I can come to my own conclusion. That's the journalistic method is what's supposed to be objective, not necessarily. And there's just certain news outlets that don't have a method, but they have propaganda. And so, especially, and I'm not even just talking about both sides, because of, you follow the money on who owns what. Yeah. It's certain corporations who sometimes, or certain multimillionaire figures that play both sides, depending on how they make their most money. So independent journalism, and people should be looking out for those things. People's World is what I work for, and you can read that as well. Yeah. I'm on the editorial board of that.
There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, even back when I was in my print days, like actual reporting, right, is supposed to be more on the objective side, show different
the reporting,
whereas editorials are where you are supposed to just inject your own sentiments and all of your own ideals, and that's where it's like fair game, and people know what they're getting themselves into, because people who write editorials are typically, I mean, that's their just pulpit to do such. And so,
it's analysis then. That's when it's analysis, and you do insert things in analysis. But you're right that, I mean, definitely that there's it's weird. It's a very weird time, especially social media. You got a lot of information, but you don't know what it's a lot of information. You don't know what's the right information.
Yeah, right. And like I said before, you can get the news that you want, and the internet's just that times a million. You can saturate yourself in the opinion that you want to hear, and really it gets really dangerous.
Yeah, echo chambers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, preaching to the choir, man. It's scary.
Yeah. It was the same thing right before, as I call it, before this happened.
In the long ago.
Yeah, before, we had a lot of conversations about cancel culture and what that was, depending on who was getting to control the narrative and what canceled actually meant for who, So it's kind of the same thing now with, it's just, I feel like the stakes are a little bit higher because we have an election coming up. We have a pandemic going on, and it's a lot. I think, after this, people are going to be having to deal with a lot of trauma for some time to come that we're all going to have to work our way through.
Yeah. Yeah. I just watched something today that they were talking about the Spanish flu. and they shrugged it off because it died down in 1918 in the summer. They resumed their normal lives and then got slammed in the fall of 1918. So that's worrisome too. Well, we could return to normalcy with movie theaters and everything, and then hit this second wave, and that might be I don't know, the worst thing.
Well, they thought the heat was going to kill it for us this summer, and we saw the worst numbers during the summer. They're like, no, heat's not killing it. It's mutated in some areas, including here in Arizona. So it's like,
yeah.
What do you do?
Lindsay, what are you nostalgic for?
Like, I want to go to a movie and just like I don't want a good movie. I want to sit down in the theater I know it's gonna be bad, and I want my big overly huge Slurpee with like my pretzel bites with both the regular mustard and the honey mustard.
Oh.
And I just want to just go. I don't even care about the waistline. I just want to go to town and just embrace whatever horror. That's what I really want right now, honestly.
Yeah. Well, let's steer it back. Fuego, you actually wait. I didn't report anything. We
just launched right into catching up and stuff.
Yeah. So the weekend that was goes this way. Tenet opened.
Oh, look at those graphics! They're so good.
To 20.2 million. Again, multiple states are not open right now.
It's like 12 or 15 or something. Did Jersey end up opening back up? Because I saw on the 4th there was the possibility they were going to open back up theaters, but
the closest state to me is Connecticut and Jersey's. So I would assume no.
Okay. Well, my mom actually, all my family's over in Jersey. She said they were opening back up on Friday.
Oh. Okay.
This past Friday.
Yeah, so that's what I heard.
Back up a lot of restaurants and the theaters, and I told her to stay home.
Yeah.
Good job.
It was her birthday this Sunday. I was like, nah, you need to stay in the house.
So New Mutants came in and second with 2.9 million. Again, these numbers are just incredibly small, shrunken down from what we're used to.
We also have to remember that even where the theaters are open, they're at like what 30%. So it's 30% of the 70%.
Right. They cannot go above. I think it is 30%.
I know it's 40 at AMC, and I think it's 20, and it's 25. I think at the Harkins, which is like a local chain that opened up here in Arizona even before AMC did.
Yeah. Okay. So theoretically, if you were to sit in a seat, 2 seats next to you on either side would be empty.
Yeah, and it's open rows, so it's like 1 row of people, 1 row of no people. That's how they did it when I went to the theater.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us about that experience. Yeah. I know, Fuego, you put up a video, but maybe give us a little taste.
Yeah.
Unhinged in third with 1.7. That's that Russell Crowe film where he's road raging.
Yeah.
The personal history of David Copperfield with 361,000. Good enough for fourth.
I was bummed because that was a film I was supposed to cover as press at the Phoenix Film Festival back in April, and the trailer looked awesome, and then just nope, sorry. So
well, yeah, by the numbers, it'll be home soon. SpongeBob, The Sponge on the Run, in fifth with 345,000. I don't know why you would have released something like that to theaters. People aren't going to bring their kids right now. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Whenever I hear Sponge on the Run, though, I immediately in my head the song "Band on the Run" just starts playing. So the movie's got that going on. Exactly. Yeah.
So the big hitter of the weekend was Tenet, which half of us have seen. Fuego, do you want to go ahead?
So did you see it, CP?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I can run with it. So this is a film that I am totally with Chauncey in the fact that I feel like Christopher Nolan has kind of tarnished his reputation a little bit by being so incessantly demanding about this having to be at theaters. He kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And so I can understand why there's a lot, especially of my critic friends who are kind of boycotting this movie. Since it wasn't horror and there wasn't any even press going on in Arizona, I had some friends that got an invite to Vegas to go see it early. But it's very convoluted. It's very very full of itself in a lot of ways, and it's not. It doesn't explain the logic of this inversion, this like strange backwards time, whatever sort of stuff. It's essentially in a lot of ways the best way I can describe it. It was much more of a spy film than I anticipated, which I know lots of critics have been saying, and with good reason. It is basically like Bond meets Looper in a lot of ways, and. John David Washington's fantastic in it, and Pattinson is great too. They have a cool little bromance thing going on. I like their chemistry. Like both of their performances. All of the supporting people. I guess Kenneth Branagh as our villain was pretty solid as well. But there's a lot of illogicality in the movie. It's very pretty to look at, but I will admit, compared to even something like Interstellar or Inception, I didn't really feel like it dictated so much to be seen on a big screen. I probably would have been fine on my home big screen TV watching this and wouldn't have really sweated it that much. I mean, this didn't deem itself as this big event film like they've made it out to be. It was good, not great. I think since I'm not the biggest Nolan fan anyway, I like his earlier stuff like Memento, Insomnia, Batman Begins. Not the biggest fan of the later Batman films and that trilogy so much. But yeah, man, I enjoyed it more than expected because I didn't go in with huge expectations. So, it was good, not great, and definitely, I mean, it only did 20. I was wondering if it was going to do more than that, but 20, I guess, is good enough for the amount of theaters that were open.
Right. And Lindsay and I were discussing this earlier. It could just, normalcy for box office is like a 60% drop.
Right.
We could see some, like, this is completely foreign ground that we're in right now. We could see something where it just maintains, where it's 20 for a month straight.
Yeah,
or just like slowly dips off like 19, 18, 14, just like it could add up quickly. Because like what's going to be coming out like between now and October?
Nothing big until Candyman. So
all right, that's Candyman.
Yeah. So the theater I saw it at was considerably small. My uncle has a theater, and I don't.
You goober.
What I'll say is, when the movie started, I was pretty far back in my seat, and by film's end, I was on my knees. I was a lot closer to the screen, and pretty captivated, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, I think. It's something that feels like it feels like it's in the same universe as Inception.
Okay.
I mean, also, if I just watch Inception like on one monitor going forward and the other monitor going backwards, like would it would that?
So, not to defend Tenet or anything, but I agree with you. I agree with you that it's just like this is the way things are. Just enjoy the ride, asshole.
Yeah, accept it. We're not going to explain anything. Yeah. And it had a pretty relentless pace too. Like Catherine, my girlfriend who went to see it with me, and she's very sharp as far as like physics and scientific process, and whereas I was always more of like an English and history person, she was dead set math science sort of person. That's what she's into. And even she told me, she's like, it was moving at such a fast pace, and all of this dialogue that's just propulsively pushing stuff forward. She was like, I got lost, and I could see that happening to a lot of audience members, because it just rolls. It just goes and goes.
Yeah, see, and I would say this is a film like this. We'll re-report the Universal deal in a second, but this is a movie I would say totally would be redeemed on multiple views, and would be a perfect movie for the VOD formula, where somebody could buy it and pause, be like, wait, rewind that. But like it is a little bizarre that this film is the one that goes back to theaters, where you just kind of you're left asking questions. I'll say that I had the ability to go back a couple of times. Is what I'll be able to tell you about the theater I went to.
Yeah, because there's a lot of interlocking puzzle pieces that you see one bit earlier in the film, and then you see a bit later in the film.
Yeah, from a different angle or something. Yeah, exactly. What I called it is I think I called it Back to the Future meets Terminator for grown-ups.
Yeah.
Because it's very similar. I mean, as far as the climax of Back to the Future, you have two people that
having a disagreement about something.
Yeah, never mind that. Just forget that I said two people that are it's I
Interesting spoiler, two people.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Fuego, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I know. So
I'm suddenly fascinated. Like, how is two people? Like, is everyone gonna die in the entire world except for two people?
Not particularly.
No.
But,
There's a hell of a fight scene, is what I'll say.
Okay.
But some of the effects were incredible.
Yeah. Third act especially. I mean, third act really brought it from a visual standpoint, especially,
Sure.
and that's where I can totally see you just being more like into it and captivated, getting closer to said giant screen at Uncle's Theater. So
Yeah, man. Because there's stuff that goes on in that third act where like, you're on a highway. It felt very. You know what I felt like? The Matrix 2. That highway scene, really.
The only good scene in the movie, really.
Fun scene. It's a fun scene. There's a scene or two actually in Tenet that are kind of similar, where they're on a highway and some shit's going down. But
for the record, I like The Matrix too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. I'm just saying that scene is quite remarkable.
Yeah. It's far more bearable than Revolutions, my God. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, this is
Matrix 4 though. I can't wait. Oh my God.
Although I'm bummed, no Hugo Weaving or Lawrence Fishburne.
Apparently I know. I noticed that immediately. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Right.
And they both commented on it. Hugo, apparently, it was scheduling conflicts, and then Lawrence was like, "Well, if they give me a call, I would have been down." You know. So what the hell?
That's why it's so weird to me. I'm like, he's all up in John Wick, so Keanu didn't like, yo, where's Lawrence at? Like.
Yeah, and he went to bat to make that third Bill and Ted so much with him and Winters. You know, it's like he has that clout. He's back to A-list status for sure.
Oh yeah.
At this point, so.
I also don't like the idea of poor Lawrence Fishburne just sitting there being like, yeah, they're going to call me any minute now. Any minute.
Yeah.
It's strange that they're not like waiting. Like they only resumed production last week, right? They weren't making movies all this time. They had with the exception of a certain dinosaur movie, nobody was shooting or doing anything.
Well, also Batman, started reshooting, and then Pattinson came down with COVID this past week, and they had to halt production again, which was a big bummer. So that's like snowball going downhill sort of situation, I would imagine, with the star of your film. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And
The Rock too, because he also caught it.
His whole family, man. Michael Rooker, I saw posted about it too. So I mean, there's a lot of high-profile people who have had this, and they're waiting.
Michael Rooker has it?
Well, he had it, and he was
had it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was on his social media talking about the recovery process, and so lots of high-profile people. Idris obviously had it. Tom Hanks. I mean, no one is immune in this case. Like, don't give a shit.
Right. Two people I work with two people I've had it. I work with have had it, and then another one had a scare. So 2.5.
Yeah, I don't know anybody personally who has, thankfully. So
my cousin had it.
Yeah.
When I talk about people who the pandemic didn't slow them down, she was one of those people though. So she was still like socializing and things like that. So yeah, she only found out about it because she had to take the test when she was going to get her wisdom tooth pulled out. And so they make you take a test, and that's when she figured out. She thought she just had really bad allergies.
Oh,
and
wow.
it turned out that it was that. So
interesting.
Yeah,
the person I work with. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it affects everybody differently, obviously, from asymptomatic to just mild symptoms to full-blown life-threatening. So it's the craziness about it.
The person that my friend, they could be exaggerating, but they're like, I just lost the ability to taste for 24 hours. And I was like, oh yeah, you have it. I'm like, oh, okay. But then, 24 hours later, I could taste again. But,
wow.
I mean, they got lucky, but not everyone else is. Like,
yeah, I saw Alyssa Milano talking about having had it and how her hair was falling out and all this different stuff. Like, that was really sad. So
that's wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering I had lung issues just 2 years ago, I'm not going outside for anything.
Oh man, go look at Handlebar or something. What's the worst that could happen?
Dude, when I'm in Walmart, I'm like, you fucking people are crazy. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so blessed I have a Target down the street from my house instead. You know, the difference in clientele, like we talked last week, night and day, man.
Yeah, they're savages in Walmart.
Yeah.
It's like, can you just relax? Just there's all this space. What do you have to be in my fucking way for? Just relax.
I just
Well,
go
I
to
mean,
Walmart.
there isn't a.
And I order my groceries. I go to Walgreens occasionally for quick stuff, and I order my groceries.
Yeah.
At the height of it, I'd come home, take off my clothes, throw them in the washing machine, hop in the shower, then unpack all the groceries.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been doing that straight to the house with the groceries, but the medication, I can't get it anywhere cheaper. So unfortunately, I have to go to Walmart for meds. So the interesting thing about movie theaters is we're on pace for a really low finish this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Candyman makes like $8 billion. You know, you don't know. You know?
No, I think we're locked in there. So 2020 currently is the 6th lowest grossing year since they've been recording it. So I mean, there's probably years like 1950, whatever, that are lower, but they started recording the numbers in the 70s, and as we stand, 2020 is the 6th lowest grossing year with 3 months to go, and I don't think we're gonna pull a billion in the next 3 months. I genuinely don't. So I think that's where you're going to see 2020 when this year is over. 6th. With the funny thing is, you look at these other years, 1977, 9 movies combined to make 443 million. And again, not again, first time. All this money is not adjusted. So
that's what I'm going to ask. Yeah.
If you adjust it, it's far worse. And you look at averages, 2020 is probably the lowest grossing year, considering the per movie average.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at the top 5 there, and 9, 13, 56, 40.
Yeah, and there's nothing within 35 years, numbers wise, like this, if you were to adjust for inflation. Right. So yeah, this would easily be the lowest by far.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, there's nothing like this. We're gonna in the weeks and months going ahead, we're gonna learn things about the industry that we just don't know. And again, to re-report something that we were talking about last week, Universal and AMC made nice. They came to an agreement. I think it's a really nice deal for Universal. Frankly, because they have any studio, any distributor holds the cards in this situation, because if you're a movie theater, you're simply a concession stand with rooms for TVs. It doesn't matter what's going on over there. It's all about the food. So
were they selling snacks, just out of curiosity, before you go, or when you went to the theater?
You see, they were, but I mean, since I did go a couple times this past week, the one thing I will say, guys, is that it was a ghost town. There's nobody there, and as far as like the extent of human interaction, I would probably be more worried for, an essential service person like somebody working at Walmart or Target, who's there 8 hours a day and in contact with so many more people, in comparison with a theater worker, where there's still a lot of people very uneasy and nervous to even go to a theater. It seemed like a safer situation for a theater worker than somebody working at a Target, at least for me, and I didn't really see anybody eating food ever. The first screening, at least, when I saw New Mutants, people had masks on and stuff, and I saw Tenet, there's a few people lifting it up to drink and to take a sip of their soda or whatever. But for the most part, people were being relatively cautious, and that at least made me a little less uneasy. And the fact that everybody was way the hell away from me. So I don't know. It's obviously an imperfect situation. I understand the apprehension, especially if you yourself or people and that you could be interacting with like family members and stuff that have pre-existing conditions and things of that nature. Did I feel a little bit guilty about going to a theater? Probably, because I know it is a risky sort of situation. But you know,
sometimes you got to get out of the house, though, man. These days, like
what
just
else
do anything.
Well, at least I'm not going to a flipping Smash Mouth concert or something.
Oh,
and you know,
of all the bands too, Smash Mouth. Like, come on, guys. Like, I love All Star, but
I'm guessing you haven't seen Outbreak.
We talked about this last week, but if you have a mask on, you can't cough into a theater, and so
you're gonna trust the rest of America to wear their masks in a movie theater?
I was kind of doing this
the
whole time, looking around, looking at everybody in my general vicinity.
There's one person lifting their mask to take a drink and achoo.
Oh god.
Nope. No thanks. Thank you. No.
I mean, I have my mask on, so, and it's not like I didn't get concessions or a drink or anything, and I was trying not to even touch the little handles and stuff. I just kind of sat like this and watched, and that was about it, man.
I have to be a little comfortable when I watch a movie.
I feel you.
Did you also wear a shield too? Did you wear a mask and a shield, or just the mask?
I haven't worn a shield throughout the entirety of this, and I know that it can get into eyes and stuff like that. I know, like, if you touch something and then you touch your eyes, and then you can obviously get it like that. But that's why my dad went to the theater and he had gloves on and he had his I forget the something 9 mask or whatever. He actually is the
N95.
The N95, yeah. He's as hardcore as it gets, man. You know, when it came to that, but and he's almost 70, you know, and he's like, well, son, you can't stay pent up forever. You know, life eventually has to go on. And I don't completely agree with that, but there is a part of me.
Somebody who's lived a little longer.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I knew that. I mean, Cecil and I talked extensively about this. We knew we were going to get some flack from some of our contemporaries, but then we saw a lot of other people that we respect in the industry just going out and doing it too. And so we weighed the decision, and you know. Yeah, it's an at your own risk sort of thing, obviously. So,
yeah, I'm all for going to the drive-in right now. I've done it once, only time in my entire life I did it. I actually really liked it. It was fun, but just in theater, man, I can't do it. And that's part of the reason I'm so upset with Tenet. Like this weird rule that they have that if the movie's not playing in a regular theater near you, you can't have a drive-in. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
What is the actual point of that?
Yeah, it kind of seems like they're just doing things out of some bizarre.
He wanted to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, probably, yeah.
That's probably what this was. It was to prove a point.
Yeah.
What was the point?
I don't know, that enough people would flock to his film because, you know, that's the movie-going experience or something.
The point is he's Christopher Nolan.
I think
he's like, I have so much clout. And blah, blah, blah.
I don't think Nolan has clout like that, though. Amongst film fans, Nolan has clout. If it was Tarantino, people know Tarantino by name. I don't think the average American knows Christopher Nolan is the director of Dark Knight.
I mean, they probably know him for Dark Knight, but they probably like Dunkirk, Prestige.
Right.
Like, those probably fall off.
I mean, Dunkirk, nobody rushed out. Like, it did well, but Inception did incredibly. But
this is also Hollywood, where a lot of people like to think of themselves as very important. You got enough people around you being yes people, you know, you're gonna drink your own Kool-Aid. You know, so I mean, I don't put it past them, right? To think, hey, everyone knows me. I'm the Inception and the Dark Knight guy and all the other films that whatever. You know, like.
Wait, you're a DC girl? I didn't know that, Chauncey. Like, whoa, it's so random.
I had no idea.
Oh, right. So last week.
Oh, Ruh-roh.
No, we discussed it last week, but right before we went live last week, DC did their fandom or whatever the hell they called it.
I didn't get a chance to do it because I know. No. I put it on my calendar too, and I didn't get a chance to do it. Did you have you watched the trailers that they released? No.
Oh, well, I'm
behind.
There goes that.
The only thing I watched was not Dark Knight. Only thing I watched was like the Batman one.
Which was
That was the one I watched.
Yeah.
That was the one I commented on.
Okay, cool.
Because I've been excited about it, and I love that trailer.
Yeah.
I was super excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just that moment where he just beats that guy to like, oh, it's just like, okay.
I'm very raw Batman. I'm like, yes, this is great. And I saw a little bit of Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. I'm like, yes. Just so excited.
And the Penguin, like we talked about it last week.
Farrell, man, looking unrecognizable with those prosthetics and the makeup and stuff.
And Jeffrey Wright, I keep forgetting Jeffrey Wright. He's
Gordon. He's our new Gordon, man. It's awesome.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a great film, for sure. If that's the kind of vibe they're going for, and and everything, I think it's really, and that's why I was kind of sad to hear about. But then at the same time, it's like, why were they filming right now? But I also get, a lot of people have been filming, so even longer than when they were supposed to. So from what I know, so I'm just like, it's.
Yeah, they filmed an entire Children of the Corn movie in Australia during quarantine. I mean, the whole movie, and they had all of these different, like I guess citations and different things where they were getting hit, but they apparently forged forward and did it anyway, and now they're dealing with all the legal red tape. But
wait. First of all, they're still making Children of the Corn movies. Let's just start right there.
That's so weird.
There is no other Stephen King franchise that they have developed as many films on as Children of the Corn. This is either the 12th or the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Which
I
is
think I've only one.
bonkers to me.
Yeah, I've seen the first one and like a part of the second one, but that's it. Like
the only one I think I really watched was the one when he went to the inner city, I think of Philadelphia or something like that.
Free. Urban Harvest, the third one. Yeah.
And I watched it for obvious reasons. I was like, what's this? This is like killing people. But now he's in the city. What's going on? And it wasn't good.
No, that was pretty bad. They're all of the sequels are terrible, except for the Sci-Fi Channel did a remake about 10 years ago that was actually far more faithful to the original short story, and that one I actually really liked. So.
I did see a chunk. I did forget. I saw a chunk of that one once. That did seem pretty good. Yeah.
So before,
go ahead,
Tim. Apparently, they reported today that they were back to filming Batman today. Apparently.
Yeah, they're doing as many scenes that don't involve Pattinson as they can. They're like everything that he's not in. Let's film all the wraparound sort of stuff. And
what?
Oh my God!
I don't get this though. Like I get that Hollywood has to make its money to a certain degree, but that's what I'm talking about. Like the whole thing of like still opening theaters, still pushing for stuff to go in theaters, still saying that you have to be filming right now. It's like we need unity in the sense of it's okay to stop for a bit. Like, isn't it? Like, I don't know, especially with a multi-million-dollar industry. I mean, those CEOs and a lot of these big stars aren't starving for this. I get the crew and stuff, but that's why we have the unions and stuff, and people should get, the unemployment payment and stuff. It's really weird to me.
Yeah,
it's capitalism. It's like it's a train, like in
We're doing fine. Look at we're doing fine.
Snowpiercer. If the train stops moving, the world we all get freeze and die, or whatever the song is in Snowpiercer. Sorry, I should have done my research, but I didn't accept Snowpiercer tonight. Hold on, let me get all the lyrics to that song from that one scene.
Like, there's no reason to still be, if he's sick, like, there was no reason for him to be filming either. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you can't completely protect people right now. Like, you really just can't, even with everyone having on them. If he has to take off his during his scene and anybody else, he is now at risk. You know what I mean? Like, when he goes to get his makeup done, he's now at risk. Like, there's nothing... I'm sure they added a lot more on his payment for this, but it's is it really?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Pay or whatever.
I just think there needed to be a real halt, and they're just never. I don't think Hollywood ever fully stopped. To be honest with you, I saw a lot of people still filming stuff.
God, I saw sets, like things, like I drive by. Yeah.
Really?
Shutdown going on? Sure.
Here's my thing too. Like, I think we should just embrace it. Like, everything being shot right now, let the actors wear masks. Like, it'll just be like just a signifier of like the times. It's an artistic statement, like just do it. Like, I mean,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised there hasn't been a company to capitalize on this. Although if you look to VOD, there are a bunch of oddly titled movies that probably were changed last second, like The Flu. Suddenly, there's these weird straight to the DVD movies.
Well, I mean, look at something like Host that's on Shudder. That was filmed completely in quarantine using Zoom, and that was a very enjoyable film. I must say, it was one of the first like found footagey sort of things I think since the Blair Witch Project that's really just had this grassroots sort of situation where it's like a word of mouth, and they made it for like nothing. You know, a couple $1,000 I think they spent on it, and it's become this big hit for Shudder. If you guys haven't seen Host, I don't know, Chauncey, if you have Shudder, being a horror fan and stuff, but yeah, man, it was very impressive. So there's some that are finding ways around it. And when I'm watching an AT&T commercial the other day, and you know, this dude's got a mask on and he's walking by the store talking to the store girl in there, who is the girl in those commercials is so insanely annoying. She's almost as bad as Flo on those progressive commercials. But
Flo's cute. I agree.
Yeah. But I mean, biggest thing for me about all of this is the catch-22 of the fact that, my three favorite industries, which are, you know, live concerts, you know, going to films in the film industry, and then sports being my third because I grew up playing soccer and basketball and stuff like that. Like, you know, the big people at the top, they're not sweating it. But none of this being able to get back going, like, I have a younger brother who has, you know, he's been a collegiate coach and things like that. And he's like, because we can't do college football at a lot of these schools, they are losing hundreds of millions of dollars. They're canceling programs that are basically floated from the money from these sports. And then friends of mine who are in touring bands, it's like, oh, the labels aren't going to sweat that much. You know, the Live Nation and Ticketmaster, you know, they can go straight to hell. But the bands that make all of their money touring, they're basically dead in the water. And so, I mean, it's, you know, the head of the snake, it's not going to affect them that much, but the reverberation of all of this amongst the people that are, you know, like below that proverbial totem pole, that's where it's the whole situation sucks. And it's like, when do you forge forward? How long do you wait? I don't really know. These are answers that I don't have, and I'm not trying to inject personal politics. It's just the whole situation sucks.
So first of all, I think it's ironic that Robert Pattinson caught COVID as Batman. The only part of his face that is
I know
is the part that would be.
That's what I'm saying. I want the Batman COVID mask. Okay, where it's like it's just as anyway.
I'm sure someone's selling it, man. I mean,
secondly, I do think there's a difference with studios like there is in sports. The sports, what they're doing is they've been canceling baseball games because they test daily.
Oh, yeah.
So they can afford to test their employees. I think there's a bit of a difference there where perhaps, I mean, obviously the studio system's doing that because how would they have found out that Robert Pattinson had COVID? So they're on it in some degree. So I don't know. Maybe. Also,
those cutouts of people in like the stands of baseball games are creepy. I hate them. They're also adorable. It's weird.
At least with basketball, they're doing like virtual fans on these big LED screens and stuff. But yeah,
it's a whole other thing.
I'm sorry, Chauncey. We were stepping right into the circle. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. I think it also just shows how fragile certain businesses are. You know, I mean, just to talk about the industry. You know, we talk about they sell a certain dream here. Like I was just talking to someone else, like, you know, about the glitter or more so the gold, and you find out it's glitter, you know, and to a certain degree for a lot of people that are not top of the line or whatever, you know, not like, you know, those higher up people, that they are the ones that a lot of times suffer the most when it comes to situations like this. But they tell you it's multi-million dollars and you could just sell this thing and, you know, the script or whatever, and now suddenly you're a millionaire, and you're very much still a working class person trying to get by if you're not the high billionaire CEO or, you know, the person who's already sitting pretty with a couple of $1 million. And I think it just shows just how fragile it is, because we are put in a position where some people have to film, some people have to tour, they have to find a way to perform somehow. You know, even though there's enough for everybody if it got spread out wide enough, but it doesn't. So it gets concentrated in a certain number of hands, and that's what we get.
I was one of those nobody entertainers a couple of years back, and I couldn't help but think, as a road comic, this would have devastated me because comedy clubs are shut as well. So I would be out of work right now. Well, I am out of work, so it doesn't matter. But You know,
we get what you're saying.
Yeah. There's people that you don't know about that are just devastated right now. That
Yeah, there's a lot of Zoom. I mean, my partner, he does stand-up comedy, and there's a lot of Zoom mics and Zoom shows, but you know, and some are doing it in parking lots where people can come and drive in, which, I mean, it's, you know, it's hard because it's like, how do they know they're laughing? You know, it's like if you're in the car, you know, like you just see in the window, like how can you vibe off of that? Because stand-up comedy is live theater in its own way, you know? And so
your timing is based off of the reaction from the crowd.
Yeah.
You write for, you know, hopefully they laugh at your jokes. You write a 2 to 5 second window, you know, of a break. So mentally, you know, all right, so that I could stop for 2 seconds here because they might be laughing and leave an extra 3 seconds in case they really enjoy it. But if you're not hearing what's going on, you don't know if it's a 2 second or a 5 second. Like it's really, I don't know. It's not conducive for comedy. Whatever is going on right now is just comedy poison.
Well, you just have to be able to read the audience when you're doing stand-up. It's a completely different energy. Yeah. Sorry.
You can't in this atmosphere. You would have to have everybody in the audience mic'd to know what.
Oh, that also sounds horrible because then the comic, he's got these like headphones on. You can just hear everyone in their cars.
And there have been shows where people actually go on stage, and there's been a few times where, you know, worrying about the audience, where the audience sitting. One issue, I think a performer, he was rushed on stage by this drunk person that was in the audience. He rushed the stage and he had to go to the hospital. And like on top of that, now worrying this dude got too close to you, clearly without a mask on. Just a whole lot of it's hard for the entertainment industry right now. But I think that just shows how I think some things would need to change.
Yeah. So to get back to calling the entertainment industry a little spoiled, there's films that are done. There's A Quiet Place 2 screened for critics.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that movie. Yeah,
and they delayed it to next year. So
you know, it's strange that they could be testing things. They could be trying things out with you know, delivering your media straight to your audience. And
well, Disney's doing that with like Mulan and Disney Plus and stuff right now, kind of testing the waters. Like,
what do they have to lose?
Nothing. Literally, all they expect. The worst case scenario is they lose a couple subscribers. Best case scenario, they gain subscribers. Like, who cares? It's
although it's still coming out theatrically in a lot of regions on September 11th. It's coming out in China. You know, so it's still hitting theaters in various other parts of the world. You know, it's just North America is like their little test bubble for.
And in December it goes free after people pay $30. Like, that's such a slap in the face.
yeah, which is where I'm holding out hope. Even though I've read like Variety and a few other like publications I respect, who praised it and said it was pretty damn good. And I was like, well, I don't want to spend $30 on it. So you know, I don't have a family of 4. So.
Yeah, there's no music, right? They switched it. It's not a musical anymore, right? It's
nope.
And of all the movies to do that with, like, man, I want to see a live action To Be a Man so badly. Like, that's so
what I was excited about.
Right?
My favorite songs.
Like, I'll admit, like, the musical part of like Beauty and the Beast was like not good at all.
No, because Emma can't sing.
Exactly. She's great. I love her. She cannot sing. And then and the same thing with The Lion King, like with the lion like just running in a circle and stuff. Like I get why they cut it because they keep failing at it. But come on, I want to be a man. It's probably some horrible throwaway line of just like, hey, if you want to be a man, and it's like, no, that's not enough.
I heard that they're thinking about with Mulan that it's more for, like, culturally speaking, people feel like it's more for the Chinese culture audience in terms of like what they're appealing to versus a North American audience, which is interesting. That some people have said. We had a friend where they are, you know, Chinese American, and he literally said, he was like, if you want to have 2.5 hours of what it feels like to hear my father lecture me, watch Mulan. So
Dang.
That doesn't sound very appealing at all, actually.
Yeah.
But they're saying it's very prideful of the culture and things like that, but maybe in the sense of like more of the sensibilities and maybe those in charge in China or something like that. Like maybe to more others. I know there were a lot of like, wasn't there a lot of cuts and edits and stuff based off of those?
Yeah,
Probably.
So
they make some interesting choices based on whether or not it's going to China. So considering it's Mulan, I would assume China had quite a few dollars invested in this. So yeah, they probably dictated quite a bit. It's interesting. It's interesting.
It may still do well for what Disney was aiming for, which was the money. So if it's so even if it's not here, that it does well, you know.
Yeah.
People also need to remember that Disney makes all its money off the parks. So whether or not this movie makes that, as long as the parks open up soon, Disney will be fine. Like they're not going to have to sell off Star Wars or anything. Sorry, go ahead.
Disney will be fine anyway. What are you talking about?
Oh, no. That just there's people like I see random things on Twitter and stuff. People be like, "Oh, Disney's struggling. That's why they have to do this weird stuff with Mulan. They might have to sell back Star Wars to George Lucas." I'm like, no, that's never going to happen. Disney is fine.
Yeah, I mean, they have lost billions from their parks, but what's a few billion for Disney, right? I mean,
they bought Fox with cash like 2 years ago. They're fine.
Yeah.
So, it was cash. Maybe anyway.
So speaking of Fox, New Mutants, I don't know how much we dove into it. Again, I'm of the mentality that this is the first episode in a while. You guys who saw New Mutants, just go ahead. I know, Lindsay, you have a video on your channel, My 2 Cents of Nonsense, quite a rarity. So not to spoil it, but give us a little taste of what you discussed in that video.
I like the movie, but it's not like I like it more because of like what it is and like what it represents and like where what it is for this moment in time in the franchise. How it's like the end of such a prolific era of the movies and like in the era that really kicked off all these superhero movies that we have these days. And that's the thing that fascinates me about this. Like Blade's about to get a whole new thing, but we haven't had a Blade movie since 2004. Spider-Man's been rebooted a half dozen times, but X-Men's been running somewhat continuously since 2000. We've had actors, directors, writers all coming back to do movies again, like over a decade later in this franchise. We've had writers turn directors. It's a very interesting film, even if the movie itself isn't the best. Just like the fact that it's the end of all this is more fascinating than the movie itself in a way. And the movie itself is a little by the numbers at times. Like the act 2, you could tell they really didn't know what to do, so it really drags a bit. Even if the opening is kind of effective and the end's pretty epic, you know. It was a pretty big good spectacle. It was a little empty, but it was a visual feast. But what's really funny is like it's supposed to like set up like a new generation for this franchise that's been going for 20 years, but instead of doing that, it's the end of it. So it's like as the movie's ending and it's like, oh, these characters are going to go off and have more adventures. It's like, no, they're not, and we know they're not. So it's like it's a weird experience watching it. I'm glad that I saw it. I would watch it again over like a lot of the other recent X-Men movies, but it's also not necessarily great. It's just kind of okay. It's good enough, I guess, is a way to put it.
Yeah, it's a weird bummer for the setup that you're mentioning because Josh Boone had like a whole outline for a trilogy. Yeah. He had treatments for 2 more films, and then when delay after delay and all the hoops going through and reshoots, no reshoots, all that different stuff. I don't know. Even if the story dragged significantly in the second act, I liked the characters enough, and I feel like with a tighter, more interesting script, I would have really enjoyed seeing a lot more from most of the ensemble. So it's
the cast was so good, all of them.
Man. Yeah, Maisie Williams and Anya Taylor-Joy, and dude from Stranger Things. I mean, it was a great cast. So the bummer.
It's funny. I spent the first half of the movie being like, it's so weird that the guy that plays Quicksilver is also in this other X-Men. Then I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not what's his face. That's the other what's his face from Stranger Things.
Well, I mean, Chris Evans technically is in the same whatever as both Captain America and Human Torch. Whatever.
Yeah,
that was my crossover.
That was my absolute favorite aspects of those two Fantastic Four films was the Michael Chiklis and Chris Evans banter between the two of them just talking shit. And it was, I mean, those are some of the most enjoyable aspects. Everything else was just kind of meh about those films. But I mean,
Michael B. Jordan's in too.
In the reboot one, right? With Toby Kebbell. And,
no one likes to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
And that's another film. Josh Trank got totally screwed by the studio. He had so much. They basically did like this weird assembly cut with the with the studio heads and the film that he had intended, and he had a great cast for that too.
And that's a cut I would love. That would be, even if it's just like the visual effects aren't done, just kind of like sketches maybe for a few scenes. I would be fascinated to see what that movie was supposed to have been.
Yeah, it is odd. I mean, when you can notice hair differences, it's like
the roots.
Yeah. You're like, huh? Okay.
Well, I mean, we learned stuff from like Suicide Squad and from that Fantastic Four film, and it's when studios get that involved in the process, and you bring in outside forces to compromise the vision of the filmmaker. I mean, that's why we have a Snyder cut that's finally coming, because they are hopefully seeing the error of their ways, and they're like, maybe this isn't the best idea to compromise the vision of the person who's been working on it throughout, but it's some money talks and so on and so forth. So.
Speaking of which, Fuego,
Yes.
considering half of us are in the horror community, maybe 75%, depending on what day of the week it is.
It's Friday, right?
Yeah. Only Friday. Yeah, when it's the 13th. We're coming up on Halloween season, and that's fodder for horror films and thrillers and stuff, and we're getting Candyman the last week of September, the 20-something, right?
I believe it's October, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it October?
I have my spreadsheet here for all the upcoming release stuff. So we're actually kicking it off on the 18th of September with Antebellum. That was supposed to be released theatrically. That's going premium VOD. Then from there, Candyman is... where the hell is it? There's so much coming out. From Bad Hair is coming to Hulu. Candyman is October 16th.
Cool.
So,
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Really going for the Halloween season.
They filled that Halloween slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they moved it when they delayed Halloween a year. So they shifted it into right around that sweet spot. And
are they coming out in theaters, or are they going to direct?
It is still saying in theaters, at least for now. Now they could potentially do a simultaneous, like I know Bill and Ted was in select theaters, but it was also on demand. And so I've seen that I've seen that business model happening a lot more in the midst of all of this. But as of now, just like with Tenet, they're holding pat about it being theatrical only. So.
It's weird because horror, you think of horror, and at least I do. Most of the time I watched horror movies as a teenager, as a kid, whatever, was at home, was renting them from a store or something like that.
Totally.
You would think they would mess around this month with the VOD model and see where things go, as opposed to delaying a full year. Like Halloween is done. Halloween Kills is done. I can tell you that out of just sheer guessing. I don't know why they would do something like that and not test the home audience. Like Candyman, Candyman is what, Universal now?
Yes.
It seems like there are certain studios that are trying to actually, with Disney.
Universal.
Yeah. So Universal could technically release Candyman 2 days after Halloween to VOD. Now with their new deal.
Yeah.
Oh, wait! If it's the 16th, is that a Friday?
I believe so. Yeah.
They might do the Thursday night thing to get it out on the 15th, and then possibly get a. So,
well, what's the window deal? I thought it was like 17 days.
17 days.
Yep.
So
November 2nd is when they could release it on VOD.
That's so weird.
It is it's my birthday. Yay! But yeah, it's a little random.
Yeah, pump it up 2 days to the 14th, and then because I genuinely don't understand why they're not at least trying with one of these bigger movies. A Quiet Place 2. Why not try that? Just try it. Like, what do you have to lose? People are going to forget about that damn movie.
Well, there was a lot of,
yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of buzz behind Antebellum. I believe that's a Blumhouse, and I think it's Jordan Peele produced. Dare I say?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one that they've been trying to get out for months, and now
Remind me.
It's kind of a time travel sort of thing. So it jumps like back into like post Civil War era, and then also back into modern times, and so it's supposed to be kind of like a mind melter in that regard.
Okay.
But yeah, it was supposed to come out a few months ago, and then it got delayed, and then they, as opposed to doing A Quiet Place 2 tactic or the Halloween Kills tactic, they decided they were just going to go premium with it. So, and I think that is also, I mean, being Blumhouse, that has to be Universal as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
because it's weird. So Blumhouse switched out Halloween Kills for Candyman. Oh no! Wait, Blumhouse isn't associated with Candyman. Or is
By
it?
the way, Jordan Peele does not appear to be actually connected to Antebellum. I was incorrect. I'm sorry.
No, I was the one who said that, so I was totally wrong. I mean, it's what, Janelle Monáe, I want to say?
Yeah, she's in it.
Yeah.
So it actually reminds me of a film I saw some years ago called Sankofa. I mean, they're kind of playing it a little bit like a horror film, but I guess it would be horrible to be a Black woman find yourself a slave. But it's interesting because I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Sankofa movie. I actually had to watch it in school years ago, but it came out in 1993, and it dealt with this Black woman who is a model, and she's got like this kind of look, and she's being like filmed on a beach. And then what happens is this elderly, wise African man, kind of has this thing like, remember your ancestry. And so what you get is that she gets transported back to slave times. And so it tells the story of, and she doesn't remember anything. So she's just basically functioning like, she's always been enslaved. And so it kind of tells the story, and it's, it's filled with a lot of the, horrors of slavery and stuff. And then eventually she comes back and everything. It's a very good film. It's powerful. And so when I saw Antebellum, and at first when they were doing the really, really obscure kind of trailer for it, at first I was like, oh my God, this is Sankofa, and they just don't want to reveal like that it is, that they're kind of just borrowing that and hoping that it's been enough years. But seeing what it's about, it seems a lot like Sankofa, maybe just like with a 2000s kind of more in your face revolutionary kind of vibe and horror. Because maybe they're going back and forth, but I'm interested to see it just so I can compare it to Sankofa. But I would also encourage people to watch Sankofa too, which is very powerful. I thought it was a powerful film.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now, and it was an Ethiopian film. So could this be just a North American sort of?
I wonder.
Possibly, right?
I mean, they don't always give credit sometimes, So it's like I'm like, maybe it's just a play on it a little bit, but it seems like it's more in your face because she's like an executive in this one as opposed to like a regular supermodel. So she's like an executive, she's doing things,
big money,
and then she
regards.
gets back. Yeah. So it definitely looked like a very similar plot line to me if they're going to have it. So she's going back and forth into slave times, and a little bit of Octavia Butler's Kindred, a little bit with her going back too. So I feel like it may be kind of like a little mixturing of those plot lines. So we'll see.
What do you guys think the current climate will lead to for films as far as, creative minds right now writing in 2020? Yeah, I mean, first of all, you have plenty of time to do so.
That's true.
Secondly, there's just so much going on that, there's stuff like just 2 years ago, BlacKkKlansman. He used real footage at the end. Like you don't even have to get around the bush with your messaging. Like it's right on the head right now, where you could just.
I wonder how long until we get a pandemic movie that uses footage from like hospitals during COVID.
Right.
Wait a few years, but
yeah. Well, there was lots of stuff. I mean, right place, well, wrong place, wrong time, right place, right time. I don't know if you could even really say either with all the shit that's going down and stuff. But I mean, Spike was working on The Five Bloods long before, all of this. I mean, later this year we have Judas and the Black Messiah that's coming out. That's another one that is going to hit so hard because of everything else that's been going down lately. So I mean, it's the right films, at a time when they need to be seen. So they're going to be especially poignant, And so the reactionary factor, I would imagine, is going to be even more profound as we forge forward.
I'm interested. I don't know. I feel I'm a little on the borderline with it because, you remember in the times when there's like the Depression and stuff, and then we had like the Roaring 20s and things like that. And like you had this time where people just didn't want to be brought down anymore with stuff. It was just kind of like, we just want to go out. We just want happy, we want parties. And I wonder if we're going to have a little bit of I don't want to call it backlash of that, but maybe that may be like, I know we were joking before the show. So I was like, I totally do not want nihilism type or nihilistic type movies at this point. And I wonder if that may be a little bit of the response, hopefully when we see the other end of this, that people may not necessarily want films like, Midsummer and other things that just kind of are very depressing and just kind of hopeless, where people are like, no, we want hopeful films, even if it's horror, even if it's tragic stuff that happens. There needs to be some type of triumphant, more of a response to, because I feel like it goes in ebb and tides with humanity, right? Like, well, with our society, I should say, where it's like we had the time where like, you had superheroes and it was great. And then suddenly there was death of Superman because suddenly someone decided they didn't want superheroes to win all the time, whatever. So you had people die because it was in response to like this happy going. People are like, it's not like that. We need more grunge, And so then you had other times you have this response where things are so depressing that people just really want more vibrance, and I wonder if that may be what we see.
We could kick into gear like that because that's what the 80s were. The 70s were such a down decade. And then the 80s was all about excess, or at least
the 80s were radical.
Yeah, in pop culture at least. It's just excess in everything. And then the 90s was kind of miserable. And then towards the end of the 90s, it was back to being silly and stupid. And then 9/11 happened, and you shut your mouth and
do what you gotta do.
Yeah, we got miserable for a little bit.
Say something.
Yeah.
It's all cyclical in that regard, though. And to echo something that Chauncey said earlier, it's probably why I enjoyed Bill and Ted so much more than maybe I would have in a different like social and political climate, because it was such a sweet, well-meaning movie with a very positive message. Yes, goofy and kind of silly at times and stuff, and I could see how people are like, this is insulting my intelligence, whatever, but it was a sweet movie that had its heart in the right direction, and it's a celebration of music and just trying to be positive and see your way through even in a daunting situation that seems insurmountable. So it was a good film. I really dug it. So.
Yeah, I feel like we might be seeing more horror comedy soon and more.
Please.
Yeah, I think there might be an influx of that. I think we were kind of coming. I mean, for a time, you had things like Arias, and where it was like it was okay for everybody to die at the end. It was okay to have the protagonist just really not have a happy ending. But I really feel like we may be seeing us move maybe at the other end of this. People may be too exhausted to really, I don't want to say dig deep. I think we'll always have people wanting to dig deep, but I think you can do it in a way where it doesn't have to be hopeless at the end. And I think after this, people may be looking into that. Not saying that poignant films, to the question, like, I'm not saying that poignant films wouldn't still work. I just think it may need to be told a little differently going forward.
So I've always thrown this idea around for a couple of years now. As far as film is concerned, they tend to cynically ape what's going on in culture. And I'm surprised that something like The Warriors doesn't get remade with a much more serious tone. Are all of you familiar with The Warriors from
Warriors?
Yeah, like it was a little silly in the whatever time, like a bunch of gangs fighting each other, running around painted, looking like teams. I just always thought that they would remake it and make it serious. And I mean, you can. There's a lot going on right now where there's a bunch of people on different sides that I don't know. I figured Hollywood would have exploited that by now, but I guess not. Some subjects aren't touchable.
I guess maybe The Purge echoes a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's right. Sure.
But,
and we're supposed to get another one, weren't we?
I was about to say, the last one was the first Purge. Are we supposed to get the second Purge coming up?
It was supposed to come out this summer, and it got delayed to next year. That was another. I believe that's another Universal. I believe. So,
was it Blumhouse, weren't they?
Yeah. So that got delayed a whole year. So it's coming out next 4th of July weekend, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if we want something it's kind of scary but also goofy and still has everybody die at the end, just watch what I threw on with the girlfriend the other night, which was Cabin in the Woods, and you'll have a jolly old time even though everybody dies. So I mean,
I finally watched The Dead Don't Die.
What'd you think?
Which one? The Jim Jarmusch. Yeah, it wasn't funny to me.
It wasn't. It was so dry, and then it went meta at some points, and I was like, did they just break the fourth wall and then they went back? Like, what's this thing about the script?
It was so deadpan, and I just what a cast too to be.
Yeah, that was a waste. I felt like it was a little bit of a waste of a cast, and it was just a very depressing film towards the end too. I was like, "There's no hope here. Why did I watch this? I thought this would be happy and have Bill Murray, and it just wasn't."
Well, I've been watching a lot of Korean films, and they are a little raw with. I mean, I've been recommended a bunch of thrillers from Korea, and a company sent me something that was another thriller. They have a little more realistic endings where the protagonist, things don't end well. In what seems at least half of the Korean films that I've been watching. This year, Parasite.
Yeah,
it's kind of a shitty downer ending, and it won an Oscar or 4.
It won several Oscars.
Lindsay, you have somewhere to be. I see jingling your keys.
No, sorry. I had a hangnail that was bugging the hell out of me. You ever have that where you find one and then I finally got it though. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yay!
Get him, coach.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be distracting. I'm sorry.
No. Did you have anything to add to the?
I'm always down to talk about Parasite. Like, you guys want to spend an hour talking about Parasite? Let's freaking do it, man.
Do you think the current climate will lead to anything as far as creatively is concerned in the next year or so?
Yeah, it's. But the exact direction is going to go is kind of hard to gauge. I'd be so down if Edgar Wright suddenly wanted to come back and just do not Shaun of the Dead 2, but the spiritual successor to just Shaun of the Dead. That would be a lot of fun, I think. But
he has that Soho Nights that's coming, right?
Say that again.
Yeah, that's the Edgar Wright film.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got one coming.
Yeah. I think it's in the can, or it's at least in post right now. It's called Soho Nights, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And based on a novel, more of the thriller horror, that not supposed to be as comedic, but who the hell knows with him? Dude,
he's flashy. I don't care. I'm down. Knives Out was fun.
Oh my god, that's so fun.
We're supposed to get another one of those.
I would love a second Knives Out.
We are. They didn't we?
I'm so excited. Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Oh really?
No.
That's cool.
Okay.
You're allowed your opinion. It's okay. No, it's just totally fine.
Art is subjective, as I constantly contend.
So,
it's what is the things to take away from all this to influence art? A failure of leadership, people just not listening to common sense, the world being a big scary place, people being scared of each other. Those are the themes. What can you do with that? I mean, I'm not saying that it mean to me of you can't make anything out of this, but whatever those types of elements kind of congeal into.
Maybe you revisit They Live, because that kind of fits.
I've been spoiling for a remake of that for years.
That would be great.
Yeah, so much more socially poignant right now than ever before.
Absolutely.
You know, with the advent of social media and just even ramped up commercialism more so than ever before.
Yeah, with the internet too. Yeah, sure.
An administration that kind of likes to liken itself to the Reagan era of theory, trickle down and all that.
Yeah, doing fine.
Oh yeah, and it's like people thought with the Bushes and with Reagan we had it bad, and they're like, "Oh, you had no idea where we were going, guys."
The ultimate hold my beer move, 2020.
Yeah, well, I mean that's probably the other half of this discussion is what happens in November.
That's what I was just about to say. It's like whatever lessons, you know, to what Lindsay's saying, like whatever is the glean from this, I think we know after the election, because they're going to say, we learned the lesson and let's talk about and reflect about the lesson we learned. Or I guess we didn't learn our lesson. I'm going to Canada and we're just going to have to try to figure it out, you know? So I think that's also going to reflect in art. Like because you know, what is art sometimes when it has a purpose? It's like something that needs to be said. Whoever's making it feels like there's something that needs to be said. And you know, with what comes from the election, that's going to determine what needs to be said. You know, either we're going to be moving towards a different direction or it's going to be a lot of the same. And that's going to determine what people feel like needs to be said to all of us.
Good point, Dice. Dice says, so we'll turn to the chat in a moment. Sorry, guys, we haven't been looking at it. We were catching up for 2 months now. So if you have something to contribute or ask, now would be the time in the chat. Dice says, I've found elements of Jaws heavily applied today. Lately.
Yeah, I can see that, where like you don't really like the monster's not really hidden or not really visible, not really seen until it's too late, and then
and the mayor's like, no, everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine, guys. It's fine. We need to reopen the beaches.
Go swim. Go swim. Put your masks on and go swim, damn it.
Yeah, Jaws. Right.
Oh wow, look at that.
And I'm assuming that's why Dice said it. Hell yeah.
Yes. It's very true. I've watched it so many times since all this started. And every time when that mayor comes on, I'm like, it's you. You are the reason. You are the mismanagement that we all are dealing with right now. Open the beaches. It's all over with.
I think both sides of this argument, if there's only two, really just need to have an exhale. Like even if you're a defender of this administration, you're doing it quite a bit. You have to, explain yourself if you're going to bat for certain people. Remember boring? Remember going a week without anything happening in the news? Because I do.
I remember the biggest piece of news was that Obama wore a tan suit one time,
or didn't wear a pin.
Or he wanted Dijon mustard on his hamburger. You guys remember that?
Who eats mustard? Dijon, he's too good for the working man.
Yeah,
I've already said it on this episode. I love me some Dijon mustard. So you know what, right wingers, cancel me, okay?
I am the guy who has like 6 kinds of mustard in my fridge, so I feel you, bro.
It's good stuff. It really is. It brings a lot of variety. We don't need to.
It's interesting because I feel like we're in the midst of history, right? And it will be interesting to see the movies that come out of it, the documentaries. I'm sure there will be so many documentaries that come from this time. Documentaries and probably feel-good movies, but a lot of documentaries about what we've dealt with and how we process it. I mean, losing so many people and,
Yeah, considering the country's built on a constitution that was written at a time that not everybody was equal. And it says things that weren't representative of the time. We preach that certain things are about law. Early in the year, that appeared to not be the case. I've never heard of a trial where there's no witnesses, because that's insanity.
Actually, the Cardassians on Star Trek, they frequently disallow evidence and witnesses into their court cases. But to be fair, like how every race in Star Trek has like a gimmick, they're the fascists.
Yeah. And they're the Cardassians, huh?
Yes.
So Dice says, and Back to the Future 2 even has very relevant moments lately. Yeah, we're in the alternate 1985 right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, Biff has the casino.
Uh-huh.
Oh, go figure.
That's funny. Yeah. Actually, okay, a movie I've wanted to revisit lately that I hated, except for the ending when it first came out, The Mist. Like when I watched that when it first came out, I'm like, oh my God, stop complaining. Like, there's clearly something happening in the mist, guys. Everyone stop being an idiot and acknowledge the situation. And back then it's like, no, that's not real. But now I'm like, oh, that's very real. That's hitting home right now.
It's all about the pack mentality, the bunker mentality, and I love that movie, man. It's one of my personal favorite King adaptations. Frank Darabont, same guy who did Shawshank and Green Mile. So
yeah, I keep waiting for some sort of. Again, I apologize, but yeah, I can't escape. I'm low on my anxiety medication, I think. I can't help but think there's got to be some sort of moment that gets us to figure out that, oh, we're kind of the same. Like this is kind of weird. I'm fighting for thing A, they're fighting about thing B, but meanwhile, thing C is running away with everything else while A and B fight. At some point, people in this country have to realize that if you're making less than $200,000-$300,000 a year, you're being taken advantage of at some point. And everybody's got different complaints, and there's got to be something that happens that just I don't know. Reading the comments from last weekend that our commander-in-chief said that our troops are losers, and I forgot what other words he used, but
that encapsulates it right there. That's all downhill from there.
That's devastating. Like that guy's in charge of those people right now. What office is it that is part of the Secret Service? Is it the highest?
Who does the Secret Service? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say offhand.
Because I'll be honest, if somebody's running out after Mr. Losers with a gun, I ain't jumping in front of him.
Oh, I guess it's part of the Homeland Security.
Oh, okay. So never mind.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, when you talk about this actually kind of goes back to like the whole thing of movies and entertainment and what we see online.
Sorry.
No, it's all connected. It's all culture. When we see this influx of a lot of conspiracy theory type movies and inspired films and stuff that have been coming out, that have come out for all of the cabal. There was another QAnon one I watched also, which more so focused on the Hollywood elite who eat babies and things like that. And,
that makes me want to watch Society, man.
And and so, but the thing is, in times of crisis, people either, get wizened up to a class structure that makes it so that, which is very much in your face. All you got to do is look at the numbers and who gets what, that you realize, hey, there are people there is a big wealth gap based off of a certain kind of class inequality. And then in the same time of crisis, you get these kind of films and things that come out, this kind of propaganda that wants to point the finger to some shadowy figure that isn't these wealthy people, that isn't these people that control your check. It's some shadowy figure who worships Satan, some shadowy figure that drinks the blood of children to stay young. It's not this. I mean, even with the QAnon one, to be frank about it, just, not even from a biased standpoint, they look at Trump as the one who is going to fight the establishment, the one who is going to bring down the corruption and bring down the pedophiles who do things to this and eat children.
Oh, the guy who hung out with never mind.
The guy who said he'd date his daughter. So,
nothing weird about that. What are you talking about?
And so what you have is them saying this guy is anti-establishment when he, and on both sides, right and left, these multimillionaires are the establishment.
Right.
You know, so
money is the establishment.
Conspiracy theories. You have these conspiracy theories that are lean on theory and more on conspiracy that have no way to be proven, that gets people to kind of not want to focus on the fact that there's a class inequality. Because more so, if you did say that, then you also fling in the face of people who still believe they can become that class, you know, that American dream.
Well, there's that guy, I mean, to kind of skate sideways with what you're talking about, there's that guy who died trying to prove that the earth was flat. There was this guy, there's a documentary about him. On Amazon. I forget what the fuck his name is, but he kept building these rockets and flying them up in the air, and he was trying to get funding for it. Right. And he died this year.
Wow.
He built a rocket he was trying to fly high enough to prove that the earth is flat.
Right.
Fucking rocket, the parachute blew out and he came falling to his death. So there's stuff like that. People who are going that far for something. Where do bizarre theories like the Earth is flat is like? We have somebody who's willing to go to their death to I don't know, anti-science, I would call them facts. Like why would we lie about something like the Earth?
Well, first of all, the Earth isn't flat; it's a pyramid. We just need to get just now that we got that baseline, we can go from here.
Like what? Like if we could just get compartmentalized and like, okay, so my theory is the Earth is flat. Why would they try to get me to,
about that?
Yeah. What is in it for them? I don't think they're getting to that question.
Well, just who probably controls education. It's the same thing. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody occasionally, you know, when I talk about certain things, but like, you know, if you talk about like why some people are against vaccines and things where they think there's some underlying shadowy figure trying to control people and they're going to put something in you. But there's, you know, and there is, what it is, conspiracies are half truths, right? There's always a half truth in a conspiracy. Like the whole idea of vaccines. There was a time when I think it was Ford, around the time when he was trying to get reelected. He was a Republican president, trying to get reelected. There was some outbreak of something. So he rushed through a vaccine, took the picture of himself, and a whole bunch of people had nerve damage from that vaccine because it was rushed out. And we're kind of seeing that, you know.
China's got one right now. Yeah.
And
Russia too.
It happens. So you then have these anti-vaxxers who are like, look at that, you know, this is, you know, like this. And it's probably the same thing for flat earthers. It's like, you know, they faked the moon landing because they wanted to tell us and control us and make us think that they were in control and that we had suddenly did it when we didn't. And they want us to believe the earth is round because they want to control the way we travel and, you know, our you know, our mentality or something. It's all about some shadowy figure to explain why someone's oppressed about something at times. You know, as opposed to the real truth.
And there's all too often like a sensationalism aspect to it too, just to add that more sense of urgency and you know, just how you must pay attention because it just seems. So it's almost like, God, that's so crazy. How could how could somebody have made something so insane up? You know, so at least the way I look at
it. There was a documentary that I saw that argued that there's people that want to believe that you know, that they have purpose. They're doing something for a reason.
Yeah.
It also followed a guy who was trying to prove that the Earth is flat. It might have been the same thing, and he did this test where he put a pole in the ground and he would shine a light and he would go like 30 miles down the road, and like if the Earth is flat, they're supposed to line up, and it turns out that the light was, you know, there was a slight curve, so the light was 3 inches above where he was, and the movie just ends with him going, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. And like wow. it's you know, some people just maybe not to sound like
it's sunk cost fallacy at that point. You know, like I fought for this for so much.
I need this. I need something. They said the same thing about Lee Harvey Oswald. People don't want to believe that this little shithead killed this great president in JFK. He didn't.
The comedian.
What?
Sorry, a Watchmen reference. No.
Well, yeah. They can't. It can't be something insignificant. It has to be something bigger because it just has to be.
Yeah.
And because how could it not?
Yeah. No, I get it. Like, you know, you get passionate about something and then you realize it's like how many, I don't know if this applies to you guys or like maybe like writing articles, Chauncey, like, oh my God, I got this great video idea. Yeah. Okay. Research. Okay. Oh yeah. So this ties up to this ties up to, oh wait, no, massive hole.
Dude, I have like 5 videos that I have like Premiere, like in 20 minutes edited. I'm like, this is shit. I wasted a month. This is garbage.
Right. But then you're like, but I put so much work into it. Right. No, let it go.
Yeah. You got to walk away. You got to walk away sometimes. Some people, you know, they want to ride it into the ground, quite literally sometimes.
That's definitely the case with media, journalism for sure sometimes. And that's where you get the people getting confused about objectivity, where it's like they still want to come to the same conclusion, even though once they look at the research, it doesn't go to the conclusion they want.
Right.
You know,
you just fucking force that square into the round hole.
Like I saw a really good video once. I love that we've got the point we're talking about flat Earth because I'm fascinated by this. Like debunking a bunch of flat Earth.
That's on Netflix right now. There's a series about flat earthers on Netflix.
Oh, is there?
Wanting to check it out? Yeah, it's on Netflix.
What's it called? Do you know what it's called? I mean, I can look it up.
Yeah, I just keep seeing the preview for it. I gotta look.
Okay, I will look that up. I'm very curious about that, but. It's just fascinating to watch people just like debunk some of this stuff where it's like, hey, like here, see this image, and when I play with the levels in Photoshop of this image of the Earth, you know, it's no longer a circle, now it's a square, so you see the Earth is flat. No, it's compression.
Pixels. Yeah.
Exactly.
It looks like it's called Behind the Curve.
Someone actually mentioned it in the chat too. Yeah.
Oh, Luke was talking about it. Yeah, the Razor Wire reviews. The Behind the Curve. Yeah. I was seeing. I forgot.
One of the greatest comedies of the century.
I don't know. Have you seen Dinesh D'Souza's works? Because I've seen all of them. They're pretty funny.
Oh fuck, he's like that.
He's got one coming out too, which I'm just like, oof.
What is it?
Oh, the guy who made like Hillary's America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
His website.
What about his website?
KeyWiki. Is he the one that does KeyWiki? There's a guy that does a site, and he also did a movie about, and it's like basically the enemies of the state. I'm just listed on this popular right-wing state as one of the enemies of the state, and I was just yeah, I am. There's a whole page.
That must be a badge you wear with honor, right? You're like, hell yeah.
When it first happened, my mother was very concerned, and she was like, "Do these people know where you live?" I'm like, "No, I don't know." Also, it's a badge of honor. I'm doing something right if these people.
Yeah.
I would have special business cards for special people that would have that on that.
That's validation for sure.
So the chat.
Please don't get killed by conspiracy theorists, Chauncey. But that's absolutely hilarious.
This is a quote from the film Behind the Curve. This is why we're winning against science, is something somebody said.
Oh my God.
Well, like, is it education? Like, how are people coming to conclusions like this? And should we be worried about that? Like,
hell to the yeah, I would say.
Like, why aren't people sitting these people down and say, well, no, science is proven. Like, it's math. It's you can't make two and two be 5. You just can't. It's the way it is, unfortunately.
You're like, but I live by my own set of rules, and therefore, I go against the grain or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, funny story. In like 2nd grade, I was a little advanced for math, even though it fell off and I was suddenly horrible at math later in life. But I knew about negative numbers. So when the teacher was trying to say, all right, class, what's 1 minus 2? I'd be like, oh, -1. And she'd be like, no, no, it's you can't do it because one is but negative numbers and anyway.
They're like, well, with the theory of inversion that we were taught about in TENET.
Yeah. So Luke again further goes on, especially when the figurehead of the Flat Earth Society admits in the film, if he was shown proof that the Earth is round, he would still be a flat earther because he's in too deep. Again, it's having a purpose. Yeah. Like, what do you do after if you're that invested into something, and it's driving what you are as a person? Like what?
Yeah, you jumped off the cliff already. You're the lemming, man. You're off the deep end, and it's a point of no return, so to speak. How do you intervene with something like that, though?
Well, sometimes it feels like at least to me, maybe I'm talking completely out my butt here, but like it's emblematic of something else that's wrong. Like, but you're just channeling that like this isn't right into this other thing that. You know what? It becomes like an outlet for frustration, or maybe it's to deal with like, greater societal issues. So instead you focus on this one thing that you're like, hey, I've got this. And if I can prove this, then I can prove that there's something wrong. But maybe that's overthinking it or side thinking it.
Like Christopher Nolan trying to prove that he can make it.
I mean, there's definitely danger in it. I mean, this is what we talk about when we talk about multimedia and the fact that it's so, like you said, there is danger there. I mean, with the anti-vaxxers, there was a 20 to 30% increase in measles outbreaks, something that we had got rid of supposedly.
Yeah, smallpox. I mean,
and even with these, I mean, I think all of us, to some degree, believe in some kind of conspiracy theory, Area 51 was a big thing. And then we got found out that there wasn't Area 51. I mean, I know so much about the aliens, but that they really don't want anyone close to it.
There was that thing last year where they were supposed to, what was it, in September, they were supposed to storm Area 51. Yep. And they got talked out of it, or at least they got close, and that was it, because they were going to get fucking killed.
There's things, and it's like, why don't they want us so close? I mean, if all there is like maybe some weapons or something like that, I think there's some level to it, but I think there is a real danger, especially when these people can vote, and depending on who they support and what they support, and when these people also have access to guns.
Right. But
yes, yeah. And QAnon's been a great example of why conspiracy theory and access to guns is just not a good mix.
Yeah, Pizzagate.
Yeah. Thank you.
He shot up a pizza place because he thought there were children there to rescue.
In a basement, in a building that didn't have a basement.
That's where QAnon.
Wait. Did he go into the pizza place to try to where? Did he just shoot it up, or did he
shot at it and told was telling like, I did this because I wanted to save the kids that were inside?
Well, what are you shooting at it for?
Some QAnon thing said some pizza place in Washington had like a basement full of like child slaves, and this guy took it seriously, and he drove there with a gun, and I don't think anyone got killed or hurt. Like he just shot wildly, right?
Yeah.
But still, that's
if you're trying to save somebody. Why would you shoot at them?
He probably thought the kids were in the basement and that he was shooting at the thing to shoot at the leaders or something, so he could storm the place. I don't know. I mean, there's no rationale for this. I mean, the guy drove from a different state just to figure he was being some type of, hero. It's the same thing for that kid in Kenosha, unfortunately. He drove from a whole different state thinking he was going to defend some property.
Yeah. Holding his gun like this.
Well, apparently there's some loophole, like the gun didn't actually cross state lines. Like once he got to that, then he got the gun. So I guess that changes the legal stance, but he still killed people. Like, why are we even bringing that up? He fucking killed people.
When he's walking with his gun and he's like this, I just killed 2 people. It's just arrogant and just, it's really disgusting.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, we're living a movie right now. This is a film. And all someone has to do is probably be filming this the whole time.
Yeah, 1984 might be 2020. You know,
off by a decade or 2.5, but he got there.
Yeah, there's some weird shit. It's just we eventually find out. I think that's something I would tell somebody who has questions. Like Area 51, I'm curious, but when you see footage of World War II, and then now we have footage of them testing bombs, I'm gonna put it up to they're probably doing something like that right now to whatever today's uber weapon is. So
COVID. Sorry, bad taste.
Yeah, but like, you have to have some sort of trust in the fact that some things need to be a secret for right now.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that originally what the conspiracy theories of Area 51 were? That like they spread the conspiracies to hide what was really happening. They wanted people to believe it was aliens to cover up like the U-2 spy planes or something like that. Wasn't that actually the real story behind Area 51?
Well, they also tried to claim that Stalin was injecting kids with some type of fluid to make them superhuman, and that he sent them over, and that's what happened, and that's what crashed.
Oh.
Well, we found out again today. I watched something in Europe. The countries didn't want to report. They didn't want to refer to the Spanish flu back in 1918. European countries didn't treat the virus like a virus, and it really took hold in the second half of 1918. I forget which countries. I know France was one of them. France. I want to say Germany. Oh yeah, definitely Germany. But eventually we find out. I guess I don't know what solace that is to somebody, but like, because they opened the closed files on JFK's assassination a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's right.
Something like that. Like he got shot by somebody who was misinformed.
Excuse me.
Okay.
No. No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, eventually stuff will come out. I mean, I think that's why. But the thing is about that secrecy and stuff. Like, even there were some missteps with Fauci. As much as I respect him, like, one of the things was he stands by, and I get why he did it. Where he was telling people originally, don't wear masks. You don't need a mask, because they didn't want a lot of people taking the mask from people who work in the hospital.
Let the doctors get it first, and then everyone else can get them after.
They were afraid of that, but at the same time, that could have contributed, because people could have put on cloth masks from their home and stuff like that. And then you had, so it's I can see where the weird conspiracy theories, which are also dangerous, can take hold, where people are like, well, this isn't real. This is all about people with underlying conditions. Why haven't I caught it yet? I'm not doing this thing. If it's so fragile and soap and water kills it, how is it this big old thing? And I think eventually we will find out the real origin of it. And I don't know how much that will give us solace or make us even more mad than we are now. So.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of anger coming in November.
I don't think everything's on the up and up at all.
No, unfortunately not. I was
Especially with even this. I don't even think they're being truthful about all of this.
Yeah, I was talking with Cecil about this on Sunday when we were filming, and I was like, unfortunately, I don't think it's on the upswing. I feel like things, especially as we approach November, are only going to get worse. They're going to deteriorate even further, especially if we get that second spike like CP was mentioning again. And I mean, I could just, like, mass madness, you maniacs, like it could be so much more just frightening.
Like I said, there's lots of parallels in the Spanish flu. Look it up how things went. They were way more ignorant back then.
Oh, yeah.
And they weren't even wearing masks. They didn't do any of that social distancing, and they still had the. No, maybe we won't, because we're prepared now. So, all right, so maybe that won't happen.
Are we?
They're currently crossed. It's not like we want it to happen, but
right. But
hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Be a realist in that regard, because that sort of naive optimism is what got us in this much worse situation in the first place.
Yeah, and if we looked out for each other, we probably could have got through this by now. I think that's part of it too. Like, guys, just be a part of the team right now and
be excellent to each other, man.
Yeah,
and we'd all be able to go see TENET
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we all just watched out, we'd all be able to see Tenet right now.
Yeah.
Right? I never would have gone to a drive-in either. I went to a drive-in because you people wouldn't put on masks. Dang it.
Yeah, you would think you would get closer, and we're not. We're getting like we're shredding each other apart. It's really weird. Like,
You're tearing me apart.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I have questions like, why am I fat? Why do people believe billionaires have the poor people's best interest in mind? Why am I ugly? I got questions, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That second question for sure. Like, why do they? Yeah.
Trickle down, man. Eventually,
I'll trickle down.
And then the fact that like what's his face is about to become the first trillionaire is like just so disgusting.
Jeff Bezos.
Bezos?
Yeah, the Amazon guy.
I do order from an Amazon, but
Yeah.
No, I mean we all do.
he is making such a big thing off of this pandemic. There are so many of them are benefiting from it. That's what's like about it, you know? Like there's people benefiting from this tragedy.
There is
a lot of people
shortage in aluminum, and I
Is there
can't
really?
have my fucking vanilla Coke because there's a shortage in tin and
interesting.
Yeah, that's the official statement from Coke. Why they're making less cans.
Oh my gosh. Well, we had a quarter shortage like a month or two ago. No one could get quarters.
Oh no.
Laundry.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, like, it's not a big deal unless you have that laundry situation, but then when you do, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying it's not a big deal till it is, and then it's crippled.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You need quarters to do laundry.
Yeah, what was it?
Arcades. No.
Somebody said something like we
I
make
missed something.
pennies are more expensive to make than they like up today by today's standards. It costs 1.6 cents to make a penny.
Yeah, Jesus.
So what are we still doing pennies for? Well, I just joined. Why are we talking politics?
I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know. This is
Connected.
yeah. We were trying to figure out, because this is a weird year. Things are going to happen that stem from all walks of life, and maybe we shouldn't be talking about movies right now. Maybe, I mean, Fuego said it himself. Like he was a little weirded out in the movie theater. Like, why should you feel that way?
Truth be told, man, I mean, I still think that when they look back, hopefully there is a world to look back in like 10 years from this, and they're teaching children in schools. And I mean, who knows if they'll even be in classrooms at that particular point, but they'll be like, yeah, so we just got done the last couple of days covering the 2010s, the aughts or whatever. And they're like, now for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be covering the year 2020. And they're just going to have so much shit to focus on that has transpired. And we're not even 3/4 of the way through this year yet, right? I mean, so it's
That's a
pretty
lot
daunting.
year.
No one knew Rome was falling during it.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh,
It wasn't until towards the end we
you
realized.
got that right.
The reason we're talking politics, I think you summed it up really well, Chauncey. Like we're a movie show. Movie is art. Art is culture. This is all culture. Like all of this is impacted. It is all connected in some way, shape, or form. It's hard to avoid, and you can only keep your head in the sand for so long, sooner or later.
Yeah, and there's only so many new James Bond trailers or whatever we could have talked about instead. But I mean, nonetheless, this is much more relevant in that regard.
I'm not excited for James Bond, for the record. It just doesn't. It didn't grab me.
And I love Cary Fukunaga, man, but I'm just kind of like, man, I want a new Bond at this point. I'm kind of over Daniel Craig, man.
He keeps playing that melancholy Bond. I just want a Bond that just enjoys being a spy at this point. If you don't like the job, I get he keeps getting thrown back in, but I just want a Bond that enjoys being Bond again.
It goes back to what we were talking about before. We had Pierce Brosnan, who was surfing, whatever.
Yeah.
It got really silly at some point. So,
but that's the ebb and flow they've always had, right? It's like
right.
Connery was like that perfect balance of like the edge, but still kind of the like the handsome, whatever. But then Roger
Yeah,
Moore
the
was
quippy lines.
Yeah. But then Roger Moore was goofy as all hell, and then they had to reel it back in with Timothy Dalton, who was a much more harder edge Bond, and then they went more smooth and suave and savvy with Brosnan, and then of course with Daniel Craig they went gritty again. So. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do next, but I saw Emilia Clarke apparently wants to be the first female Bond, and she's petitioning for that over in the UK. So that's a thing. But
no, Scarlett Johansson, Chuck.
For the record, I love the first two, like Craig Bonds. Like, I guess not the first two, but Casino Royale, Skyfall. Those are great, but 5 are like it's still a lot of him now.
I enjoyed the Brosnan films. I enjoyed. I always wanted that spin-off.
GoldenEye's incredible.
I always wanted that spin-off with Halle Berry. I wanted a big spin-off.
Jinx or whatever was her name? Yeah.
Jinx spin-off. I thought that would have been cool. It was so fun, weird the ice place that was made of, and I don't know.
The giant laser cannon.
And was it Korea they were fighting? Where it was Korea, and he did surgery to become a white man.
Oh, yeah.
Just so that he could be a terrorist. He became this pompous British guy. Mm-hmm. And he was like, it's so easy to imitate. I was like, this is good. This is good stuff right here. It was just a fun Bond thing. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about. I think in the future, people won't want a gritty Bond. I think we're going to go towards a time where we're going to want Bond, the fun, lovable bachelor who enjoys being a spy again. I think that's where we're heading towards. I think gritty. I think all the shows that they keep making gritty, like what is it? I was gonna say Archer, but not Archer. It was
Archer.
Archie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Archie, and how they made that gritty and dark. And even Sabrina, where they made that gritty and dark. I think we're gonna go back to a time where people want happy and light. Everything doesn't have to be someone got murdered in my Archie comic. I want fun-loving Bond again.
I really enjoyed the A-Team remake or whatever.
Yeah, it was fun.
2009, Bradley Cooper, Liam Neeson.
Rampage
Jack. No, not Liam Neeson. Oh wait, yeah.
Yeah, it was Liam Neeson. Yeah, he was the main dude. I love it when a plan comes together. And big old stogie.
They flew a tank in that movie. So
no, they shot at the ground in order to change the trajectory of the tank.
That was funny. Yeah. I had fun with that. I'm sorry.
It was films like that set the precedence for what the Fast franchise was going to do over years after that came out.
Yeah, maybe we fuck. Give me Fast 9 or whatever the fuck we're up to.
Which also got delayed a whole year, like that sort of fun-loving, just over-the-top ridiculousness. That's
the kind of movie I do want to see in a theater. I will say that. So I'm kind of glad they delayed it. There's certain movies I do want to see in a theater.
Oh, like Dune?
Like what?
Dune, for God's sake. I'm hoping that it's December release, man, because that's the sort of just escapist, just beautiful, big budget, Denny directing, and a stellar cast of people. I mean, I hope it still comes out in December. They still haven't delayed it yet. I think they're kind of doing that whole wait and see how things continue to go over the next couple of months, if not delay it to next year in the summer sometime.
But do we want it to come out in December if we're still in the same situation and everyone can't get to theaters though?
If it's in drive-ins, I'm sure fucking do it. But if it's not in drive-ins, no.
I'm not gonna go.
I'm sorry. I'm just I work in a restaurant, and I'm constantly changing my gloves. All chefs, excuse me. I got the face shield on. I got the mask. I'm like, being around too many people right now just doesn't feel right sometimes, and just being
don't go to
Walmart. And then and then there's also we talked about the people that work at the movie theaters, the fact that they have to bleach down every seat that people were sitting in or within a certain vicinity of that's terrible. I don't want them to have to do that.
I was just kind of peering around into some of the empty theaters just to see the process, because we got there pretty early, and I don't like sitting through trailers anyway, and so I bopped out and went and saw what the concession stand was looking like, and then just took a peek into a few of the empty theaters, and they were seemingly very rigorously going about it. So I give them props in that regard that they're trying in the midst of a shitty situation. So
I'm bleaching tables after, one group gets up before we seat it again, wipe it down, get all the crap, and then you bleach it. And
Isn't there a theory called the herd mentality where, you just say fuck it and go forward and,
herd immunity.
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah.
Herd immunity you'd have to have 3 million people die in order for us to achieve herd immunity, and about 80 million people would have to get sick.
All right. Well, it was nice knowing you guys.
That's the figures. It would need to be 3 million for us to achieve herd immunity without a vaccine. With a vaccine, you can also have herd immunity as well, but the vaccine helps it so there's less death and sickness. Without a vaccine, you are then making it so that a crap load of people have to get sick and or die before herd immunity is achieved. So it's a very, according to certain administrations, scientists, they believe it might be demon semen. So.
Oh my God! Oh, I hate her so much.
Got quite the ring to it, doesn't it?
A horror movie.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like something out of a Tenacious D record, man.
She's an African American woman. So I'm like, sis, how much are they paying you? Like, I don't believe you.
What's funny about that is I saw that clip just out of context. So I'm like, hey, this is pretty funny. But then I realized it was like a real actual thing. And I'm like, oh, this is horrifying.
Demon semen.
The semen of a demon. That's what's causing this. So there's a lot of science, as you can see, fact-based research going on. Demon semen. Yes, Dice. Demon semen. I want the movie. There's so much content, potential content coming out of this year that never should have been.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't know if y'all talked about Black Panther last week.
Chadwick, of course.
Yeah, and it was just I just wanted to quickly say, it's he had such grace and stuff, considering everything that was going on and the fact that he was still visiting children in hospitals who also had cancer and things. And I think the world lost a really great talent. And people have been talking about who might take over the mantle. I don't think that we need a recast. I'm just going to say my bit early so people can say I said it or not. I don't think we need to recast Black Panther. I think they can follow the comics and make Shuri the next Black Panther, because his sister does eventually become Black Panther. And I think that would be fitting, since they in the movie that those characters had such a strong relationship. So, but yeah, it was a real blow. And I think it just also goes to, how the feeling of 2020 is. And, the next Black Panther wasn't coming out for some time. But even now, I don't know, with all I just think the Marvel timeline is probably going to be all over the place with everything. So I think there's going to be a lot of rejiggering. But yeah, I just wanted to say that to Chadwick.
Yeah,
he was such a talent. I went back and I watched Civil War since he died, and chunks of Infinity War and stuff like that. Like, his performance is so understated, but not because he's like not trying, but just like it's just so simple and effortless. Like, he's just
42. He's really good as Jackie Robinson in 42.
I was going to say, get on up, man. That's a rough movie to watch, because they did not flinch about James Brown and some of like the darker aspects.
Same thing about 42.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for that Ma Rainey's Black Bottom movie. Like, now that I know what role he's playing in that movie, like, oh my God, I want to see that. Like, I saw that play years ago. It's so good. It's going to be so, I hope, fingers crossed.
Firmly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that. Nice job, Chauncey.
Sorry. I also was going to comment. I did see the Suicide Squad trailer. That was one trailer I did see, the new Suicide Squad trailer. Still connected to my comic book type thing. And I think it's going to be a good film.
King Shark is a shark. King Shark is a shark.
I think it's going to be a pretty solid film.
I'm excited.
I just hope he doesn't make it a lot like Guardians of the Galaxy, because I think the first one was good, and I didn't like the second one very much, because I think he descended too much into the comedy aspect of it that just wasn't very balanced. Yeah,
and the tone was off too, considering what the nature of the story was.
It also didn't really have anything going. Like, we earlier talked about New Mutants kind of meandering in the second act. Guardians 2 meandered in the second act, if we're going to be real for a minute here.
Yeah, significantly, unfortunately. Although I thought Russell was good in it. And,
and
it's a beautiful looking film. Musical choices obviously were all on point, but that first Guardians just came out of nowhere for most people, and myself included. Right. And it set such a high benchmark, and it's a tough act to follow in that regard. So, but I mean, this Suicide Squad, Gun Suicide Squad, is supposedly R-rated, supposedly like 70s grindhousey sort of vibe is what they're all saying, which I'm totally for. So
it's like set in a war zone, which I think is exciting and cool. And sure, let's see what happens when you inject those characters into a war.
They're actually going to kill a ton of them this time, I'm assuming. They'll actually kill them.
Yeah, I'm actually a little worried about like how inflated the cast is a bit, because there's so many people playing roles in this one. Yeah, there's a lot of roles. So there is probably going to be a lot of carnage, a lot of characters who will be here to hear that scene gone the next scene, I'm sure.
Yeah, cameo status. Boom, you gone. Sorry, Fillion. Although I hope he's in more of it, but
if he's like that, he's gonna have a great death, and I am here for it. I cannot wait to see that. That's
so we're gonna see a third version of Harley Quinn then, from Margot Robbie.
Yeah, I mean, different.
This one she has like the longer hair, the longer pigtails in a way, I think, than the short one. And I'm trying to figure out which timeline is it in, if it's after Birds of Prey or before.
That's a good. I hadn't thought about that yet. That's an interesting question.
Or if even it's just like Earth, whatever, and just a completely different dimension or reality or whatever. Because I know, Chauncey, have you watched Doom Patrol at all?
Yes, because they did do it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
no, it was one of the. I've been telling Lindsay and CP about it the last couple of weeks. I've been like, guys, this show is it's such a diverse cast, and everybody's all high up on Umbrella Academy lately. But for me, Doom Patrol takes that whole misfit aspect to them and just injects so much more cohesion and terrific storytelling and character development, a lot more so. And I mean, it's got a awesomely diverse aspect of representation throughout the entire cast too. I mean, damn, that show is good. And the fact that it's on HBO Max now, so hopefully more people will see it, because very few that I knew had the DC All Access or whatever it was, and they're doing away with it, right?
Yeah, it's already dead, isn't it? Or dying?
It's about to be, or something.
For the most part, and they're not putting anything new on it, and they got rid of their hosts for their DC after shows.
Well, Warner laid off a shit ton of people a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Warner DC just sad.
Yeah, 400 people or 400. It's a large number.
Yeah.
I know there's a 4 in there. It might be 4. It might be 4.
They paid off 4. TV over here is adding 2 zeros before.
Might be 4 people, might be 400.
Could be 4 million, could be 4. They could be on a 4-week vacation.
Yeah, and Doom Patrol is really great. And one of the things, I don't know if you were bringing it up because of like the different universe thing, because they play on that a little bit, like the different Earths. Because I think when they did the crossover with the Titans from DC Universe, that was supposedly a different planet of Doom Patrol. And then when they did the actual series, it was supposed to be a different configuration. So, I mean, maybe they'll do that for Suicide Squad. I mean, honestly, DC right now with their films, I mean, I just think they just need to, I don't know, to be honest, because I think Ben Affleck's Batman is supposed to be in The Flash now, isn't he?
Yep, him and
the Flash movie.
Yeah,
so I don't get what I don't think there is a timeline right now. I just think they're doing films. That's what I feel like. I don't think.
Warner's just throwing everything at the wall, like fuck it, just.
And I don't think they need a timeline. They don't. The problem is they've been trying to mimic Marvel for so long.
Yeah.
They don't need to. They're better.
Just look at the best DC movies: Wonder Woman in a bottle, Shazam in a bottle, Aquaman more or less in a bottle. Like you're better off when it's doing your own little things.
Yeah, and that's fine. So.
Yeah, totally. I'm even here for like the Snyder cut and just sense of like, hey, let's see what this other version of this is.
We're getting it. We're getting it anyway. So that's exciting. This is the first time all 4 of us are together since I saw Birds of Prey. So I want to
highest grossing movie of the year for the record.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to beat Bad Boys, by the way.
Well, probably not. No.
So Bad Boys for Life is going to be your highest grossing film of 2020 with 448.
It's fun. Wow. I like that.
But regarding Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey, I'll admit I'm a little jarred by the way she plays that character, because the overt way that she plays into her sexuality in Suicide Squad is kind of done away with in this whatever Birds of Prey film. She's a similar but different, if that makes sense. And I don't know how I felt about that. Like I didn't. Was that something that needed changing, or was that like a Me Too thing? Like what was the reason that, because it was male gaze in Suicide Squad. There's no way around it. Help.
Sorry, someone just asked an interesting question in the chat. I'm running some numbers real quick here.
I think there. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I loved it from a visual standpoint. It was very well directed, and I liked the ensemble and everything. I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. I mean, right. I thought Black Mask could have been a little stronger as a villain. I don't necessarily think it needed to be R-rated. It wasn't as violent as I was expecting with that distinction. And aside from some sprinkling of F-bombs and whatnot, it just didn't really. I mean, this wasn't Kick-Ass or The Boys or something like that. It didn't really embrace like the carnage of an R. It wasn't like Deadpool status or anything, although they were presumably going for that type of audience with gaining the R rating. In the first place.
It opens with a big bang, literally.
Yeah.
Lindsay?
Someone just asked in the chat, how much of Hollywood's money is made from superhero movies? And I'm just running some quick stuff on 2019 superhero movies so I can get at least some percentage, because I'm interested in that question.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
So I'll give you guys a sneak peek at next week, because what's going wide this week? Nothing, right? We don't have anything.
Nothing.
So I got a sheet on AMC's numbers and what they take in and where their money goes. So I'll have a fun little screen for everybody showing you just how important concession stands are to movie theaters and just how little movie theaters make off of movies. So maybe AMC should invest in McDonald's or something.
Yeah, I'm looking next week on Fandango. It looks like a few smaller indies that I'm assuming.
Bizarre time. What
theaters,
a bizarre time.
I Am Woman, Sybil, The Broken Hearts Club, I think is probably one of the only films that I've heard even thrown around mentions about. It's a rom-com of some sort, obviously, as you would probably imagine from a title like that. But yeah, there is nothing big, at least in the near future, for the next 2 weeks, it looks like. So,
have any of you seen Summer of 03?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the cover, I forgot what the actress's name is. She's been in a bunch of horror movies, a bunch of shitty horror movies. What's the Slender Man? What's that the lead actress's name?
Summer of 03?
Yeah, no.
Oh, Joey King?
Yeah, she's in Summer. So the cover, the box art of Summer of 03 is her licking ice cream, and it's very suggestive.
Ooh, okay.
We watched about 5 minutes of it, and the tone is totally off. It's presented like a Hallmark movie, but it is a raunchy comedy. Like it's a really weird movie that I don't know if I want to finish or not, because it's presented like, again, the way it's shot feels a Hallmark movie. And then the dialogue, the grandmother with, she's on her deathbed and she tells the girl one of the keys to life is to make sure she knows how to give good head. And I was like, what the fuck? What happened? Yeah. I'm dead serious. Like I'm not trying to fucking find a reason to talk about head. It's just a really weird way to open the movie. I'm curious if anybody's seen the whole thing, because it's really, I don't know if I want to finish it or what. If somebody can tell me what the fuck's going on, Lindsay.
I don't know anything about that, but going back to the chat, James Hester asked what percentage of Hollywood's income comes from superhero movies. Just based off the top 10 highest grossing movies of 2019, 5.9. So the top 10 highest grossing movies of 2019's total take was about 12.6 billion, and 5.9 of that was superhero movies. But that's not counting things like Shazam or Dark Phoenix that were nowhere near the top 10. So it's probably a little bit higher than that, but 5.9 divided by a 12.6,
almost half.
46%. Yeah.
Almost half.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Not surprising though, unfortunately.
And the others are like family movies, right? The
other top 10s are Lion King, Frozen, Toy Story, Star Wars, Joker. So not. But,
all right. So
family friendly.
Yeah.
And then
what you fucking deserve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what is it? I think of all the top 10 movies of last year, I think Joker is the only one. No, Joker and Jumanji were the only ones that Disney didn't own. Just for a little more contextualization.
Just for some perspective about the amount of money that Disney's losing cash on their theme park so well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Spider-Man is like a co-thing between Disney. So let's say 7 out of the 10, and then the other 3 are.
Oh.
Just for simplicity's sake.
Manhammer asks, "Are you excited for the Jaws remake?"
If they ever,
I didn't know that was happening, but I'm not. Just based off learning that it's a thing. Nope. They're going to show way too much of that shark. I'm calling it right now.
They're
going
really
to show.
and it's probably going to be CGI.
Ooh.
Yeah. See, I think that's part of the problem with film today, is accidents and budget don't force people into happy accidents. Like Jaws is what it is because that fucking thing, that dumb shark wasn't working. Yeah,
down the whole goddamn time.
Yeah,
Bruce.
So
asshole.
yeah,
Star Wars is Star Wars because that movie was hell to produce, and they kept being edited together into just boringness until Marge Lucas came in and actually made it watchable.
It's Star Wars is all post. Everything about Star Wars that makes it great is post.
Our art through adversity, yo.
Yeah. So I don't know. People need to make mistakes because sometimes they work.
I mean, you don't need adversity. Like there have been probably hundreds of.
You don't need, but in creativity, you'd be surprised. When you just try something and you have some pushback, you have to deal with some sort of adversity, and who knows, that product could be better. I
think it's with practical effects and stuff too, right? People, it's so much like, the computer will fix this or something like that. When you have it so that the person has to work with something that's like tangible and you have to feel it, it's like, that doesn't work, let's do it this way or something. I think that's why you have so many creative horror movies and stuff at times, because those people don't always have, CGI to do. They don't have CGI. Sometimes it has to be shoestring. They have to figure out, how can I practically make this monster? How can I build suspense without $1 million behind me for some really fancy CGI work, So at times you get some of the most ingenious type, films from the horror genre.
Well, look at Alien. That suit, I mean, in the right angles and the right lights, looks amazing. But from the wrong angles and the wrong lighting, it's horrible.
It's all about the quick cuts in horror, man. Especially when you don't have a lot of budge for your creature or whatever. I mean, just the lighting, as you said, Lindsay, just the quick glimpses of it. And honestly, if the camera lingers too long anyway, even if it is like just an amazing looking creature, it still is gonna look a little fake after a while. I mean, it's the whole just the subtle suggestiveness as opposed to just the overblown, just gratuitousness.
If there's two genres that have to constantly adapt, it's horror and comedy. Yes. Because both cases, when being scared and laughing, you get used to a certain formula. Mm-hmm. So those genres have to constantly change. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and fear and laughter are two of the most visceral reactions that we experience, So
and
people go to, a lot.
Yeah, and that was one of for me with the just talk about CGI record. That was one of the reasons why I did not particularly care for. I was going to say the thing. I did not particularly care for went out by name It Part 2. The remake, the first one. I just felt like the first one was kind of like this Goonies meet Stranger Things mashup, and then the sequel was just way too much CGI going on, and I was just like, this isn't creepy at all. Like the Tim Curry one is always going to be the creepier one out of the two to me, and he was just a guy in makeup. You know, it was just one of the creepiest things with that New York accent, and it was just like, this is horrifying. You know, his hands reaching out of a book. It's all, you know, very practical stuff.
No, I completely agree. Like the reason The Thing from the 80s is so amazing is because they use CGI to enhance practical effects. And the reason why The Thing remake is terrible is because it was all CGI and no practical effects.
And yet the interesting thing about that prequel was they initially designed a ton of practical stuff and the studio didn't like it. And so they're like, no, let's just replace it with CGI. And all of those creature designs, they moved them into a film called Harbinger Down, which had Lance Henriksen, and it was a shitty story and it wasn't very good. So it was like they ended up just shooting themselves in both feet because of the fact that they just second guessed and all that other stuff. But
I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, I'm curious to watch this movie now. Yeah,
even if it's not good, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's where they moved all of those creature designs, Harbinger Down. So yeah.
Actually, I think that Return of the Jedi looks better than any of at least the space battle in Return of the Jedi looks better than any of the space battles in the prequels, just because like that's actual models that are moving around. Just like the lighting is more consistent and it feels better. At least maybe that's just me. Maybe that could also just be childhood nostalgia, but it's just how it always has been for me.
Yeah, Jedi's my favorite, so I'm with you, man.
It's so good.
So we've been talking for a very long time now.
I didn't even realize it's 8:30. Holy crap!
Yeah, I know.
8:30. Yeah, you West Coasters. 8:30. I just want to thank everybody in the chat.
Absolutely.
We really this is abnormal. We went. I mean, everything about this year is abnormal, but this particular episode, I just kind of, because so much happened since we last were together, and you know, sometimes real world shit affects. Whatever. I mean, it's going to shape show business and pop culture one way or another. So I just kind of wanted to catch up. We'll get back to fun, stupid shit. If not next week, by 2 weeks from now, I promise.
By 2022, we'll be making dumb jokes again. Don't
worry. Yeah. Well, whenever Halloween Kills comes out, we'll be making jokes. But yeah, I appreciate you guys dealing with this non show business episode of show business.
We talked about Tenet's box office. That was show business adjacent.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys
conspiracy theory movies.
I'm gonna watch Behind the Curve. By the way, I'm very curious about that now.
I've got Sankofa. I'm trying to find it if it's on. I still have DVDs through the mail from Netflix, so I'm trying to see if it's actually on there.
Oh, I did look that up, and it actually has the word has an interesting meaning.
Penis.
Oh my God! How'd you? I was spelling this right earlier. How do you spell it? Sankofa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is a word that means go back and get it. You know, to find that. I think that's really interesting. Like with the premise that you described, I think that's really interesting. I'm very fascinated by this movie now too.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting if you watch that first and then watch Antebellum, because I remember the movie, so I'm just trying to see if it's like very much a play on that. It'll be interesting.
Wait, Antebellum, that's not out yet, is it?
No.
No, that's for the 18th. Yeah. So
you got a little time. You don't have to go watch it right
now. Yeah. So Tim says, great seeing Chauncey, Lindsay, and Fuego back.
Hell yeah.
I agree. It's
100%.
At least this feels like something normal. We're bullshitting on a Monday. I just hope. I saw at one point it was getting a little snappy in the chat. Guys, just
be excellent to each other.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's just we all love movies. That's why we're here. We're all different, but the same. We all bleed the same color. What makes us, nobody argues about food, but Yeah, everybody tolerates that. So
I don't know. Some people don't like pineapple on pizza,
Yeah.
and they're pretty diehard about that.
Some people don't think you should put ketchup directly on your fries either.
What? I don't. Oh, okay. Hold on. Them fighting
Yeah.
words.
As long as it's not ketchup
right.
on scrambled eggs. I mean, you know.
So I stand corrected. Never mind.
What's wrong with that?
Yep, never mind. So my theory goes right out the window. Chauncey, what do you got coming up? What are you doing in the next week?
Well, in the next couple of weeks, I will be having a review. I don't know if it's going to be video or maybe an article of Shudder is coming out with a new film. I think the trailer was released a couple of days ago of Spiral, which kind of deals with queer, a same-sex couple who moved to a new neighborhood, and some weird stuff is going on there. And I'm really excited to check it out, and hopefully I'll have a review in time for the premiere.
Awesome.
Yeah, we just reacted to that trailer yesterday on the horror show. We caught up on a ton of different things, and so yeah, that was one of them. And Shudder just continuously just gets all kinds of just very ahead of the curve content from all over the world. Foreign films and just multi-encompassing as far as everything that they go for. It's such a rad status variety.
They had a film from Denmark that was released in Denmark when I was out there, but it's a Shudder exclusive. It's called Small Town Killers, and it's a unique film. I don't know what it's doing on Shudder, but it's good to see stuff like that. Like, people will back into that by accident, and it's great that we have these platforms that let us explore and accidentally watch something. Like I started watching, thanks to Felix who recommended it. I started watching a film called Sputnik, which is a Russian film, and I'm halfway through it, and all I can say is it feels like a Russian Annihilation. It's got
some alien vibes to it as well. We reviewed it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, you watched it? Okay.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good, and I especially liked it because of the Cold War period with which it takes place.
Yeah, very brown. It feels very old 80s.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a sell right there. Russian Annihilation meets Alien. That's okay.
Yeah. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's about a cosmonaut that is up in space, and he's about to touch down in Kazakhstan. Borat's not there because it's 1983.
Damn it.
But so his other crew member is pretty much dead, and he has a parasitic thing that's inside of him without spoiling anything beyond that. And he's undergoing tons of tests, and it's very, very interesting. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I'm halfway through it, and it's quite intriguing. Is the only way I can put it. Lindsay.
I don't. So I don't have anything directly planned coming up in the exact near future right now.
Well, you can plug backwards.
I can plug backwards. Yeah, no, yeah. There's my New Mutants video. It's out. I'm proud of it. I had a lot of fun with it. I do want to kind of try and change up the style for how I'm doing my videos. I felt very stagnant whenever I've made videos lately, and also like every idea I came up with the last year has always been really negative, and I'm trying to write it. I'm like, why do I want to put this out in the world? But so if I do start making like a lot of stuff, which I do want to do, it'll be a little more positive. Hopefully, I don't know. Even when I talked about New Mutants and I talked about like, hey, this isn't a great movie, I found interesting ways to try and talk. I don't know. I'm trying to shake up the YouTube thing, I guess we're saying.
Good.
There you go. Oh yeah.
Way you go.
Yeah, so there's a few things this upcoming week that I'm curious about. I just VOD'd. I haven't watched it yet. It's called The Owners, and it's Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones and New Mutants and such. It's her getting into like an indie reverse home invasion sort of situation. It's got kind of a vibe of that movie Villains that came out that had the girl from It Follows and Bill Skarsgård in it. So it looks like kind of a similar concept. So that's on deck. It's more of a thriller, so I don't know if it'll end up on the horror show where we have so much backlog content at this particular point where there's certain things that if they're not full-on horror and not a big-time release, I'm probably going to end up doing them on my personal channel. And as I also said, I reviewed the new Charlie Kaufman this past weekend. It's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things, so a review for that and for Tenet. They both went up this past week.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I see Cody discussed Tenet with Sean Chandler, much bigger YouTuber. I've been chomping at the bit to kind of discuss it with somebody. So we're gonna have to figure something out. Maybe we'll get back together and just specifically focus on. Maybe I'll do a Tenet stream and we'll see who we can get in there because
cool.
There's a lot to talk about at the very least. As somebody whose uncle's letting him back in the theater numerous times.
Yeah, I know Cody saw the second time, right? And he said his opinion changed. And since I didn't watch either of his reviews, I'm not sure if it was for better or for worse. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah,
oh, if it got better. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
I still maintain if you got to see a movie twice, then they did the job the first time. I'll keep saying that about any film.
True that.
No. What about Oh, I don't have words right now. The shit. Fuck it. My brain.
Language. We're PG-13, sure.
No, we're not. No, we're not. We're trying to avoid children on YouTube, sir.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
We're not for children. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say, but I would argue that, Sean.
Fuck it, right?
Yeah, I would argue that something that brings you wanting to go back is quite a rare experience. Rarely do I go to a movie and say, you know what, I'd like to see that again. I don't feel like it's. I mean, you said, what did you say? You didn't do your job the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that's well.
I feel like if you're a storyteller, I should get the story. I should get these parts. If I have to go back, that means you didn't convey it in a way that now I have to stop. Or if I'm watching at home, I got to pause. We got to talk about it before we press play again. What's going on here? Why do you are the storyteller? You know, it's like, I don't know. I said this about plenty of other movies. I said this about Us with Jordan Peele's Us. I said, when people are like, oh, you got to watch it. I'm like, no, not in this economy. I'm not, like I should be able to watch this and get this. Now, if you're saying, oh, I really enjoyed that, I want to see it another time, fine. But if you're saying I need to watch it again because I missed something or I just didn't get it, I got a problem with that.
Okay.
I know they did their job telling me the story.
Okay, that's fair. I was going a different way. I liked it so much I wanted to go back.
That's fine.
Yeah,
because that's the way I felt about that movie Chauncey recommended to me earlier this year, The Wave, the one with Justin Long and Donald Faison. That was one where I enjoyed it a lot, and I was talking with my girlfriend about it after we watched it. And we were discussing theories and all this other stuff, and we went back to certain parts on the DVD because we're like, did this actually? And so we were just kind of analyzing it. We didn't even actually watch it back in its entirety, but still, if you had a positive experience and you're trying to dissect it because you enjoyed it that much, then yeah, that's definitely a different sort of situation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah, guys.
Yeah. Well, thanks to everyone for being back. We'll see you again. I shaved, so
I did, obviously.
That means I'm going to be in front of a camera, so I might be filming this week. So gotta watch Dogtooth again.
Dogtooth. That's the Greek director, right?
Awful.
Yorgos Lanthimos or whatever.
Yeah, you want to watch it and do the review for me? Because
I love Sacred Deer and I love Lobster. I mean, and also the Favorite, but I've never seen Dogtooth. I think that's maybe his only film of his that I haven't seen.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, I'll send you. You have some homework. All right. So for everybody else, I've been CP. You haven't. Good night.
You don't know what I've been.